You are listening to The Robert Scott Bell Show.
These days, it's more important than ever to know where our food and supplements come from. That's why, at Plus CBD Oil, we believe it is critical to manage every step of the supply chain process. It all starts with certified hemp seeds. Our hemp grows tall, like bamboo, and is harvested within 3 months. After harvest, the hemp is dried and sent to our CO2 extraction facility, where our raw formula is extracted. The extracted oil is then lawfully imported to our state-of-the-art in-house laboratory in San Diego, California. There, we convert our raw formula into our total plant complex and gold formula oils. Our oils are then used to formulate our award-winning Plus CBD oil product line. The products are then tested for cannabinoid content and the absence of harmful substances. But we go one step further. We then send our products to a third-party laboratory to verify concentration, quality, and safety. After that, the products have finished their journey and are ready to be shipped to your local health food store. Because at Plus CBD Oil, we believe how you do anything is how you do everything. That's why, from seed to shelf, we are committed to providing safe and effective hemp CBD products for you and your loved ones. It's our promise to you. Learn more about our commitment to full traceability at pluscbdoil.com.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.
I listen to get accurate, up-to-date information.
I've learned so much from him.
It is awesome. It's the best entertainment that I've found.
You rock the health world. Keep it up. I love you.
Now, the voice of health, freedom, and liberty, here's Robert Scott Bell.
Only 2 weeks into this grand experiment called the year 2020, and we have our roadmap to the Roaring 20s. Thanks to CNN's interpretation of the World Health Organization's proclaimed threats for the next decade. Will they still call us anti-vaxxers? Will they target us? We're going to find out. We're going to find out today on the air. And, of course, we've got Ty Bollinger back, TMB, RSB, and, well, almost Super D together again. Once we upgrade his equipment, then Super D could be on with us again. All three of us. But it'll be RSB and TMB. Y'all check it out. One of my favorite pictures from his backyard. His biceps are bigger than my head. I know, it's embarrassing, but I am just not above embarrassing myself on this program if it brings about the healing that I think may be needed. Maybe you want it. So we're going to start with this hour. We're going to start with the fear campaign coming from the World Health Organization as reported by CNN. By the way, happy birthday in advance to my mom. Again, it's still a few days, about 9 days away or so. But Super Don gave her an early present as we opened with some rockabilly music for those that you tune in on the video channels before we begin, just to kind of welcome you and get you started. Mom was complaining, it's the rock and roll. Stop that rock and roll. She's like, come on, Mom. You can rock. She's like, no, I West Coast swing. So anyway, you rockabilly today. Hope you enjoyed that, Mom. Thanks to, not to me, but to Super Don, your real son. I'm just pretend. Anyway, we got a lot more healing to go on the Robert Scott Bell Show as we crank it up in the year 2020. Heading, the day in Northern Hemisphere, that every day's getting a little lighter. Yes, it's still winter, and it's going to get colder before it gets warmer, but hey, we're going to make it. But, cold before it gets warm. Let's check this out. Climate crisis, epidemics, and drug resistance among next decades. I guess this decade they're calling about now. Urgent health challenges, according to who? The World Health Organization. What we'll have to endure as climate crisis gets worse, according to CNN's interpretation of what is going on, according to the World Health Organization. But if you if you click the link here, you'll see there's a hyperlink that says list of health challenges. It'll take us to the WHO article, which we'll go to in a moment. But first paragraph at CNN says, climate change, infectious diseases, anti-vaxxers, and antimicrobial resistance all made the list for the roaring 20s. Are you surprised? Well, let's go to the World Health Organization's actual revelations here. And it calls it the urgent health challenges for the next decade. And I think they have a slideshow, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there's a slideshow on it. Did I start with number 13? Maybe it'll take it back to number 1. Oh, here's number 1. So number 1, elevating health in the climate debate. What does that mean, elevating health in the climate debate? Pollution, air pollution. See, and this is what's cool about this article. There may be some legitimacy to it, that they're actually finally talking about toxic poisons and the threat to health. But, what's that? Climate change 2020, the leading cause of arsonists? Okay. Yeah, somebody's making fun of, like in Australia, people are upset that they're reporting that the fires primarily have been struck by arsonists. They've been lighting these fires. I mean, what kind of crazies are down there? Of course, Australia, it was, or maybe it is, a penal colony. So there are problems associated with that. But legitimacy to the WHO, it's just like CNN. Every once in a while, they have an article. We can go, hey, that's a legitimate article. Kind of sucks when we have to do it, but we do it. So we talk about toxic pollution, air pollution killing an estimated 7 million people every year. All right, that's it. But they call climate change causing extreme weather events. Again, extremities of weather have existed long before they came up with the concept of global warming and now climate change. But they're talking about exacerbating malnutrition. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Malnutrition they mentioned. So they mentioned toxic poisons and malnutrition. So where on this list of at least 10, maybe 13 or 14 different things, where on this list of the things we're supposed to be worried about for the coming climate debacle of the 20s, the roaring 20s, the roaring arsonist fire 20. Oh, I got Tamiflu on my mind. I'm sorry. We'll get to that. But where on the list will they bring up the issue of toxic pollution, real environmental concerns that I can agree with, and or nutritional deficiency? Well, let's do this together. Let's find out where on the WHO's list that CNN interpreted is that going to fall. All right. So we're going through this one by one. Let's see. Number 1 of the 13 that they list here. Next one, delivering health in conflict and crisis. So what they're talking about is going into war-torn regions and somehow supplying what? Vaccines and drugs. You know, if the World Health Organization had anything to do with reducing war, they would be and should be delivering cannabis into war-torn regions for all the people that are fighting and have them chill out on a doobie. I know. Some people are opposed to that, but I'm opposed to war. And I think that my opposition to war is greater than your opposition to doobies. Not that I smoke them, but hey, wouldn't that be a better plan than going to war again and again and again just so they can try to fight and deliver drugs and vaccines? The third slide on this list at the World Health Organization's list is making healthcare fairer. Healthcare is unfair. Well, let me tell you, folks, healthcare ain't healthcare. according to the World Health Organization, because it's pharmaceutical pseudoscience. It's poisoning the population of planet Earth with more toxic drugs, pharmaceutical drugs. The World Health Organization, basically a promotional arm of the vaccine and pharmaceutical drug manufacturers, much like our own CDC in the United States. So they want to make it fair. What are they going to say here? Well, we need you to support cheaper drugs or even free drugs. So socialized medicine. It means reducing the price of drugs so that they can be given away to the poor. But the reality is, it doesn't work that way, because the drug companies always get their price somehow, whether it be through the monopoly market that they pretend is a free market or capitalism. It's not. Or whether it be through, World Health Organization raising money through the U.S. taxpayers that donate to the United Nations and WHO, not of their own accord, but through what? Socialized schemes by both Republicans and Democrats. That's right, folks. Republicans too. Socialism light. Don't get me started. Republicans are just as much for socialism as, well, I say just as much. They're a little slower in implementing, and they'll talk a little bit against it. But in reality, when it comes to things that are socialism in America already, they're like, well, we're not going to reverse that. Just saying. I know it hurts, but we'll go back to making healthcare fair. What does that mean? Making it cheaper. Of course, that means poisoning more poor people. Not my idea of a good solution to the problem in the next 20 or 10 years, the roaring 20s here. Let's see, what else is on the list? This is just another extension of making it fair, expanding access to medicines. How do we make good? Are there any homeopathic medicines? Do you see any on this shelf? No, I don't see anything. This is a OTC and prescription drug pharmaceutical candy store in Bangladesh, according to the Image. And they're saying about 1/3 of the world's people can't afford these medicines and vaccines, by the way, much less diagnostic tools and other essential health products. What is the WHO doing? We're going to fight substandard and falsified medical products. What? Yeah, listen, the World Health Organization fighting for Big Pharma. We're going to target the competition to Big Pharma. That is, in Bangladesh, they use homeopathy. They may use herbs. They might have Ayurveda. There might be Unani medicine. There might be all kinds of things that we think are fake medicine. And the WHO, on behalf of the world pharmaceutical manufacturers of planet Earth, are going to target in the next 10 years. It's not enough that the FDA targets homeopathy. We, as the WHO, are going to target things like that in Bangladesh. Because Lord knows they need real medicine. So the first slide you saw was about toxic pollution, and then every other slide since then, the WHO is promoting toxic pollution. You can't make this stuff up. The WHO is not your friend. The CDC is not our friend. The FDA, investing in poisoning, targeting things that are non-toxic. Go, well, they're not real. They could be dangerous because somebody might take a homeopathic drug when they really needed an allopathic drug that could contribute to their death when homeopathy cannot. Except your argument is, oh, well, they might not take the drug we think they should have, the real medicine. I'm telling you, globalism, it's all about big pharma and socialism. It's all about polluting you and your children and the poor children of the planet. Let's go after them with drugs. What's next on this list? Stopping infectious disease. Really? Stopping infectious disease. And what do they have a picture of? Let's drop some oral polio vaccine into this child, pretending that you didn't hear that even the New York Times acknowledged that pretty much all polio happened around the world is coming from the polio vaccine, the oral polio vaccine. Y'all can't make this up. For everybody that wants us in the UN and the WHO, you're part of the problem. You are contributing to the demise of the health of the people of planet Earth. Oh, yeah, they're going to pay lip service to something I mentioned about toxic poisons, environmental issues, but it's not yet. We haven't gotten there yet as we work through it. We're only on number 5 of 13, y'all. This is crazy. Every one of these things is intoxicating, polluting, poisoning the people of planet Earth. And they think they're going to eradicate infectious disease by giving these toxic injections or oral medications. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to think about this. Historically, what would we do? We would go back into the history books and learn real history. not the abridged version, not the erased and rewritten version. The rewritten version says germs are the cause of disease. Ron, it's a germ. Viruses cause disease. Bacteria cause disease. Fungus causes disease. No, those are the result of disease when they manifest as something you call an infection. Because of what? The toxic pollution that has overwhelmed the balance in your system, in your body, in your microbiome. Which what is it's subsisting of bacteria. The very thing they say, we got to kill. Kill, kill, kill. Poison, shoot, fire, burn, napalm. I'm telling you, the Pentagon has learned from modern medicine what to do. Not the right thing, but it's about kill people and let God sort it out. Kill the bacteria, let something happen. We don't know. Just kill it, right? Burn it out. I got a hair in my way here. Here we go. You can't make this stuff up. Again, I'm just relating to you things that they're reporting in the mainstream media, but certainly giving you hopefully a perspective, I think so, that you're not going to get at CNN. Clearly you're not. Anywhere else in the mainstream. In fact, you're not going to get it in new media for the most part. Talking about the WHO warnings for the 20s, the roaring 20s, what you should be afraid of. As CNN lists anti-vaxxers as one of those things. We're going to find out if they actually use that terminology in the WHO report. Because what did we hear from the WHO with videos we played recently? They screwed the pooch by calling us anti-vaxxers. It's set up an antagonistic relationship where people are now dividing and going, we're not going with you there. Yeah, it's backfiring on them, but CNN apparently did not get the memo. So stopping infectious disease, what do we need to do? Scratch from history the worship of Louis Pasteur and his bastardized germ theory, which is not even rooted in reality. It's corrupted from Béchamp, who talked about the law of the terrain, which says it is the terrain, it is the milieu, for those of you in French, milieu, in the environment that determines health or disease, not the pathogen. In other words, clean up the environment and watch what grows there versus the polluted environment, watch what grows there. Things you call pathogenic or infectious. Remember, you have more bacteria in your gut than you have cells in your body. How come you're not dead? Bacteria are the cause, right? They're dead. Oh, they're going to kill you. Well, no. Even though there's E. coli in there, even though there's C. diff in there, even though there's candida in there, it ain't going to kill you. It is not going to kill you unless you alter your microbiome to such a degree via destruction of your gastrointestinal tract through the use of what? WHO-inspired drugs that they say you've got to use them, but don't use them too much. What's that fine line? Because I bet that not only stopping infectious disease, which they claim they want to do, is a problem, but it might be antimicrobial resistance to those very same drugs. Next on the list, their slide says preparing for epidemics. How do you prepare for an epidemic? Oh, influenza, number one that they list. Because you don't have antibodies to the flu. That's their argument. Rather than your vulnerability due to destruction of your immune system because you rely on toxic poisons, petrochemicals for your food supply, for your medicine supply. And then you end up vulnerable, like in 1918, World War I. Squalid conditions, living in filth, limited access to nutrition, unhygienic practices of life itself. And then experimental vaccine campaigns, and then aspirin. All of these things, immunosuppressive and compromised, and millions of people died around the world. They claim from one virus. I call BS on that because they dug up an Iceman in Alaska, guy who froze to death. And they found a virus that they said, hey, this is it. This is the one that killed everybody around the world. Well, you'll believe anything. It's like P.T. Barnum. They'll believe you. They'll believe anything. The bigger the lie, the better it is, by the way. So what else? Protecting people from dangerous products. What are dangerous products according to the World Health Organization? They say lack of food, unsafe food, and unhealthy diets, responsible for 1/3 of today's global disease burden. So what are these unhealthy foods that they're referring to? Let's see. Eliminating trans fats by 2023. Hey, all right, there's something in there. You could say, Robert Scott Bell, he hates the WHO. Well, look, I found something I like. They're going to get rid of trans fats by 2023. What else? Tobacco control. Remember, folks, tobacco is a plant medicinal. If used properly, it can be good for you. But what they do with mass tobacco, big tobacco, is they take a little bit of tobacco, grown chemically, probably genetically engineered as well. They alter it and they add thousands, not hundreds, but thousands of chemical constituents to addict you. It isn't tobacco. Don't make evil that which God created. Not saying everybody should be out smoking tobacco. That's not what I'm saying. But that plant is a legitimate medicinal herb and can be used appropriately. But they don't even consider it. It's like ban things. Okay, trans fats. I'll go with you on that. The World Health Organization, now somebody will going to say, oh, now Robert's a big supporter of the United Nations. Did you hear what he said? He agreed with their banning of trans fats by 2023. Look, if you want trans fats, make your own. Put some polyunsaturated vegetable oils in a pan and heat them up and start eating that. You got your homemade trans fats if that's what you want. You don't have to buy margarine to suffer. That's bad enough. All right, so protecting people from dangerous products. Of course, they're going to say, not if it's not a drug, we want to protect them from it. Investing in the people who defend our health. Is this boring, Super Don? I think this is pretty interesting. I just looking at you and you're going to sleep over there. Are we okay? Everything okay? Just want to be sure that I haven't gone off the deep end on this.
What are you talking about?
Not going to sleep? Well, you got knocked on the head pretty hard, I know, but you're okay? I'm okay? We're okay? I'll continue.
Okay,
All right, I'm going to continue then. So investing in people who defend our health. Who's that? Doctors, nurses, anybody who provides allopathic intervention. Drugs, and more drugs. Vaccines, and more vaccines. We need more money to support those dealers of the products that which supports the WHO in its mission, primarily the drug and vaccine industry. The year of the nurse and the midwife, 2020 is now called. And I got nothing against nurses and midwives, especially midwives, but nurses, especially if they're allopathically derived and controlled, they could be problematic, as are their doctor brethren if they're promoting drugs and vaccines. So what else we got? Investing, that means send us more money at the United Nations. Keeping adolescents safe. What? From sex trafficking? The United Nations has been implicated in such corruption, including participating in trafficking of children. How does the World Health Organization, offshoot of the UN, have any credibility here? I ask you. Of course, they still believe, global warming is happening, even though they call it climate change. It's toxicology, y'all. Come back to toxicology. Let's talk that, and then we're on the same page, and we can work together to correct this instead of blaming all the fires on global warming or climate change instead of arsonists. More than 1 million adolescents between the ages of 10 and 19 die every year. Look, leading cause of death, they say, is road injury. Hit by cars, vehicles. Do we have a vaccine for that? Next, they say HIV. By the way, there is no such thing as an HIV test. If you don't believe me, go watch the documentary film. It's available for free online. House of Numbers. Suicide, lower respiratory infections. By the way, if we could all nebulize silver hydrosol into the lungs, no one would be dying of lower respiratory infections. Interpersonal violence. How are they going to deal with that? That's a spiritual crisis as well as a nutritional crisis, because violence can be brought about via malnutrition or heavy metal toxicity. So what are they doing? Helping adolescents. They're putting some kind of health education program in, mental health. And they're probably going to promote the use of psychiatric or psychotropic drugs because Big Pharma makes them. So it's got to be good. All right, we're on number 10, y'all. We're getting there. I just want to set this straight because it's a big deal. We've heard of Healthy People 2020 that our own HHS in the United States has adopted. This is all coming from global treaties, international organizations, non-governmental organizations. We go to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations, Gavi, World Health Organization, United Nations. This is a big one. Check this out. Earning public trust. Earning public trust. But do they really mean it? Let's face it. Earn it. What does it take to earn trust? How about being truthful? How about being honest? I mean, wouldn't that be a good place to start if I wanted to earn your trust, and for 20 years I've been on the radio lying to you about everything, and then I complain, gosh, why don't people trust me? I just can't figure this out. I don't know why they won't take their vaccines. I've told them they're good and that they're safe, and now they're finally coming clean and saying, yeah, there are problems. We haven't really studied that for safety. Remember the Nigerian doctor at the World Health Organization meeting? Do you think there could be cross-reactivity on the schedule and these adjuvants? You're now saying you realize it's exponentially increasing the number of adverse events being reported? And then you got skeptics like Orca saying, oh, Del Bigtree cherry-picked that thing. Dude, if 50 people were there and 10 people said there's a problem with adjuvants and we haven't studied it adequately, just because the other 40 people were not quoted, does that mean that the 10 people that said what they said didn't say what they said? And that isn't factual? These are the kind of discordant, cognitively dissonant, delusional skeptics as they try to defend the faith, defend the pharmaceutical church, defend the vaccination denomination in the church of pharmaceutical mysticism, earning public trust. Well, how about telling the truth? And if you tell the truth now, after being lying to us for decades and decades, it's going to take a while before we believe you're really sincere about any of the stuff you're saying now. Earn the public trust, my aspirin. That's not happening, WHO. It is not happening. All right, where do we go next? How about harnessing new technology? Now, I've referenced this in regard to ID technology, digital information age, Facebook's social media, these phones that can do more than what they claim they went to the moon with without having radiation barriers. Except like little bit of tinfoil. We talk about tinfoil hats. They were covered in tinfoil then. And harnessing new technologies, what does that mean? Tracking technologies. We got to be sure you're up to date on your vaccinations. Haven't you heard that? And what did we say recently about Bill Gates paying all that money to MIT to figure out a way to do nanotechnology with ink that is invisible to the naked eye and dissolving needles for vaccination that leave a permanent imprint of like dye, dyes, colors in your skin. You can't see it, but it's really happening. And then they'll scan you for it in a way that you can't get away with not being vaccinated. It's not just about Real ID mandating vaccination through the back door of harnessing technology and biometric data tying into Social Security numbers. It's more than that. So the WHO, on behalf of Big Pharma, looking to integrate technology into your human body, into your children and grandchildren's human bodies. All right, what's the next one? Dude, I hope you're interested. Look, even if no one's interested in this, I am, because this is the playbook. This is the roadmap. They're revealing to us what, from a global international treaty level, is going to descend down upon us all if we allow our countries, our nations, to be subjugated to a global bureaucracy that you don't get to vote on. I mean, it's bad enough that in the United States of America, you don't get to vote on the bureaucratic oligarchy, right? All three branches of government in one, in the executive branch. Your Congress critters aren't doing anything about it. They put it into place and they said, hands off. Executive branch has got this. Trump's trying to undo some of it. Not enough, but hey, I'm a stickler for Constitution. I'll recognize any little bit we'll take at the moment, but I'm not going to be satisfied with that, nor should you. Protecting the medicines that protect us. What does that mean? Antimicrobial resistance. The era of the era of antibiotics. It's the post-antibiotic era. They say they're threatening to send us back to the Stone Age before antibiotics, where routine surgeries resulted in death through sepsis. By the way, throughout history, we know what to do. We know what to do. Our ancestors knew what to do. Whether it be botanicals, whether it be in recent decades or centuries, homeopathic medicine, or going back thousands of years, we find evidence to use silver. Silver, bioactive silver hydrosol. How about that, right? I got some of that for kids right here. Got some silver for kids right here. Got some topical gel to address topical wounds, right? We can do that. We know about silver nitrate on battlefields. It's not a mystery. They use silver in hospitals and burn care centers for its regenerative benefit, a little bit of an antimicrobial benefit. But is there any investment in finding new methods? Well, they say they are looking for new antibiotics, according to this, by addressing root causes while advocating for research and development into new antibiotics. But new antibiotics are not the old ones, like the ones that predated the era of antibiotics. They're not going into silver. They're not going back into silver. They're not investing in that because these are not patented medicines, patented drugs that they can profit off of forever and ever and ever. But I've been utilizing silver hydrosol for almost as long as my son has been alive. Now he's 20. My daughter certainly, she's 14. And Note to the World Health Organization, we have not had to use an antibiotic once. Once! But nobody consulted me. Does the WHO call Robert Scott Bell? No, because they're not interested in solving this problem. How do I know? All right, here's the case in point. Little anecdotal story for you. I've told it before, but new listeners, listen to this. Remember the earthquakes in Haiti, the big bad ones? Afterwards, cholera, dysentery, brutal things were happening. You got Doctors Without Borders coming in. You got WHO personnel coming in, people coming in to help. And I'm not saying they're not trying to help or they don't have good intentions. But you have a 90% death rate or so to cholera this post-earthquake in Haiti. We had a small group of doctors, supplied them with silver. They went in to some of the camps and were able to deliver the silver in the bioactive form to these patients who would otherwise die. And they all lived. They all lived. And was there a big hullabaloo? Oh my gosh, what are they doing? We all got to do that. The people are living. No. Doctors Without Borders, under the auspices of the United Nations, gathered those doctors and those people and said, get out. You get out or we're going to throw you out. We can't have you saving people's lives. Now, they didn't say that, but what do you think's going on here? Everybody lives versus what they're doing. Almost everybody dies. This is the pattern, folks. Get over your delusion. It's 2020. The United Nations, the World Health Organization is not your savior. Nature, the natural world, nature and nature's God. That's where the saving takes place. And government is a poor deliverer of nature and nature's God. In fact, they are one of the greatest obstacles to allowing the free, I call it a free market, if you will, to solve the problems that the WHO thinks it's going to do by threatening us, by scaring you into running away from us because what do we believe? What do we believe? Well, we'll get to that in a moment. Keeping healthcare clean is number 13 out of 13. The one thing I can agree with on them, maybe second thing, it was like 1 and 1A. Keeping healthcare clean. The WHO finally got to something that's good. What's the challenge? Roughly 1 in 4 health facilities globally lack basic water services. Water, sanitation, and hygiene, they call it WASH, services are critical to functioning health system. The lack of these basics in healthcare facilities leads to poor quality. Wait a second. They're talking about something so basic, but missing the most basic part of this. We're only going to get clean water, better hygienic practices in healthcare facilities. What about outside of them? What about the people at large? What about in their homes, in their communities? What about instituting and investing in better sewage systems, sanitation systems, improved Nope, it's only in the healthcare systems because we need them to be sick so we can have a reason to say we're here to save you with our healthcare systems that now have WASH technology. Clean water, better hygiene. Dude, are you telling me there's legitimacy in the so-called healthcare system as promoted by the World Health Organization? Anybody still believe that? Pronouncements about global warming, climate change, do you believe them? And those that filter on down, whether it be Greta Thunberg's dad, or whether it be the US EPA, which is owned and controlled and captured by industries that pollute, even RFK Jr., an avowed liberal leftist ideologue, but yet at the same time has come to the conclusion Ron Paul did that said regulatory capture is a problem. You centralize bureaucracy. They're going to capture the bureaucracy. And there you go. Enable the polluters. And there's where we agree. Pollution's a problem. It's a real problem. I agree. But until you restore property rights, you're not going to solve it because there's no way you can prevent the polluters from polluting when they bought the EPA to be able to influence policy so that they can pollute. And they'll throw a little money back at the industry regulators. And those regulators will begin to work for those companies later on when they retire from government. And all through there, it's Super Don. I know I've gone long here. But all through this article, did I miss it? I don't think I saw them use the term anti-vaxxer like CNN did. Am I wrong? Did I miss it? Did they in the WHO, did they use it?
They did not use the term anti-vaxxer.
Yeah.
I think they talked about anti-vaccination, but they didn't refer to anybody as an anti-vaxxer.
Right. So
CNN
CNN didn't get the memo. All right, y'all. Look, I got so much. Super Don overloaded me with stuff today. Not on purpose. It's just he was excited. And I'm well behind where I wanted to be. But I really, in the moment, Super D, I felt the importance of going through each segment to kind of show a little bit about where my perspectives on this come from. Through their own words, through their own revelations, what they're promoting, what they're saying, what it really means versus, what CNN is going to pronounce about it. And vaccine hesitancy, it's still sort of on the list. But the reality is now that the WHO has acknowledged that there's legitimacy to asking questions about vaccines, it's going to be hard for them to push that agenda much longer with any credibility. They never had it, but now it's going to be harder for them to remain credible in those who thought they were credible. So with that, we'll take a break. Our first break here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. We got Ty Bollinger scheduled for hour 2. We got a lot more healing to go. We want to say thanks to our friends at Trinity School of Natural Health. TrinitySchool.org is the place to learn about all of this great stuff, including iridology. Totally cool. You can do it too.
For thousands of years, the iris has been examined to determine potential deficiencies and health issues in the body. Every human optic nerve contains between 800,000 to 1.7 million nerve fiber endings. These nerves connect our eyes to the brain and continue down our spinal cord, connecting to every organ and gland in our body. This course utilizes the iridology chart developed by Bernard and Ellen Jensen, which tells us what markings in the iris may be pointing to issues in certain organs or glands. In this course, you will learn how to identify the genetic strengths and weaknesses with organs, glands, and tissues, tendencies towards tissue irritation and inflammation, how to find the potential ability of an organ's reaction to the presence of illness, discernment of familial patterns of illness, including digestive issues, blood sugar tendencies, blood anomalies, and heart issues, and how to locate potential nervous system imbalances, spinal subluxations, circulatory disturbances, connective tissue weakness, and much, much more. Iridology is a fascinating art and science. Learning it will change the way you look at the human eye. If you're interested in learning iridology or have questions whether it's right for you or not, please send us an email or call and get started on your journey to transform the world.
All right, thank y'all for being here. Seriously, you put up with me 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, or fractions thereof, or maybe even more, because we tend to go more than 2 hours a day for the most part. And you can go to robertscottbell.com. You can find out all the links in the show notes. And today, of course, we got Ty Bollinger and his big biceps coming on board and his big brain. He's like, yeah, that's a great picture. I love that picture. And, so much more. And the articles that I'm linking to, I want you to read them. I want you to research them. Come to your own conclusion. If you disagree with me, let me know. Use your intellect. Show me where I'm wrong. Or say, you're not right enough, Robert. Let me show you where you should be even more right. And I want to hear it. We'll get you on. All right? We've got a lot more to do. Super Don, I said with the WHO videos that were released, or I don't know if they were snuck out of some way, but that the social medias were going, if they're going to follow up, or Adam Schiff will come after them again, dummy Democrat, because the WHO is clearly now engaged in a campaign of anti-vaccination. They become anti-vaxxers by acknowledging there are legitimate questions surrounding safety, that doctors are now asking questions about safety. Are they fulfilling what I said they would have to do? Like Facebook, are they going to ban WHO videos? Because they have to. They got no choice now.
Well, I've seen a number of comments from people saying that it's been banned. I just now went over to the Highwire Facebook page. I still see the video. It's still working for me.
Okay.
So I don't know. I would need more context around the ones that people are seeing that have been blocked. But the actual video from the Highwire is still working for me. And I'm going to drop that in as a link into the chat for people so they can see for themselves that it is still there. It might be, maybe it's getting blocked on other people's pages or something like that, but the original one is still here.
Right. Yeah. But like I said, it was sort of tongue in cheek, but not really. I mean, because honestly, if the bar for banning somebody on social media is asking questions about vaccine safety, then dude, WHO is busted. They are. They've now gone full blown anti-vaxxer. And then now they're also saying stop using the term anti-vaxxer, perhaps because they've become that and they don't want to call themselves that, But regardless, All the stuff that they used to do that would succeed, not working. And skeptics are losing hair because they're pulling their hair out. It's like, it's not working. Everything we're doing is not working. We're trying to shame people. They don't care anymore. Doctors are asking questions. What do we got to keep shaming doctors? Are going to keep calling doctors dummies now? No, we've been calling them, well, recently high IQ idiots, according to John Rappaport. They're very programmable, but we'd ask you to get beyond that. Get beyond that. So I thank you all for being here. We got a lot more to do. Let's check out the next article on the agenda beyond WHO phony climate crises claims. And this is another crazy story about scammy flu. Check this out. Sandell Law Firm is putting this out at cleveland19.com. I'm sorry, that's an advertisement up above. Boy hears voices after suffering apparent Tamiflu-induced hallucinations. Why is this even news? I mean, don't people already know? I mean, don't they know they banned this in Japan because of these reasons? We've talked about points of kids on Tamiflu sleepwalking in the middle of the night, climbing out of second-story windows and crossing traffic. This is the stuff that's known about Tamiflu, scammy flu. This is actually out of Central Point, Oregon, Super Don, not far from you. A mother wants other parents to be aware of the potential severe side effects of the flu medicine, Tamiflu. And I mean, you can't make this stuff up, dude. Look at this. OTC hallucinogenics for kids. Because they want to make this thing completely available over the counter. Super Don. Central Point, anybody else covering this near you, Super D? Do you know these people?
I was surprised when I saw this. Now, Central Point, I actually used to live in Central Point, and Central Point was where our radio syndicator was located. Mm-hmm. Talk Radio Network and stuff. So it's not that far from here. So that was kind of interesting. Although it was weird because it was a story from some Cleveland TV station,
right, covering it at Central
about
Point.
A story in Central Point, Oregon. But in any case,
check it out. The pediatrician, the pediatrician says it was from Tamiflu. It's not RSB and Super D saying it.
They have no problem with admitting the fact that it was from the Tamiflu, and I think that pediatrician goes on to say that, we didn't even know anything about this until after they approved it and people were taking it, and then we found out after the fact that these things were happening. But this is nothing new. We covered this when it happened. There were kids in Japan that were running out in front of buses and jumping out their second-story windows and stuff when they were taking this stuff.
Now, Super Don,
now you're right. Now they want to move this to over the counter.
If you're a parent, and you're a grandparent, in fact, and let's say you don't know about all the stuff we know about here on the Robert Scott Bell Show, and you go to the doctor says, flu, here's Tamiflu, you go get the Tamiflu. And then your kids start seeing things and hearing things, and you go back and the doctor said, it looks like Tamiflu could be the case. It's one of the side effects. Would you not then extrapolate and go, gosh, what else might we be doing that the doctor didn't warn us about? And you might start questioning other things. I mean, I know not everybody does. Of course it does. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, one of the other things that I don't think is being considered here is that if they make Tamiflu, if it's causing kids, and if kids, this might have to do with the dosage too. I don't know. Maybe if you take more of it than you're supposed to, that it causes these problems. I think there's going to be an abuse problem that's going to come from this Tamiflu, because right now you will see, I've read stories before where kids, they will go to the drugstore and they'll buy cough syrup, and they'll take like massive amounts of cough syrup because it gets them all messed up. I've seen stories about people using anti-diarrheal medication because it has some kind of a weird effect on them or something like that. So imagine what's going to happen if these teenagers, the ones that think it's cool to eat Tide Pods, if they find out that, oh, dude, you got any Tamiflu, man, it makes you see stuff and you hear voices and stuff. I think you're going to end up seeing a problem of abuse on that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's stunning that anybody believes in the priestcraft, the Church of Pharmaceutical Mysticism. They're still considered like one of the higher trusted whatevers of professions, but have they earned it? Just like I said, the World Health Organization said, we're going to earn your trust, like after they lied to you. Or, hey, let's be nice and say they didn't lie. They were wrong. They were mistaken. But how many times over how many years did they get right that you go,
Yeah, how many people out there have, it's like battered wife syndrome, right?
Mhm.
You know,
Keep going
it's
back
just
for
like,
more.
how can you do that? How many times do you have to see these pharmaceutical companies paying billion-dollar fines and then just moving on and move along, nothing to see here? I can't imagine how there's ever going to be a time where the majority of public is going to trust Big Pharma again. I think they've burned that bridge.
It's a shift.
A long
it's a shift.
time ago. That's never going to happen.
The shift is on. We're a shift of consciousness. We've been talking about it for years here. It's my 21st year just entering. I think as of February, it'll be entering my 21st year. Maybe it's January. I don't know. Of broadcast healing on radio and other outlets now. And more evidence coming from Rolling Stone that the shift is on. The change is happening, especially young parents with young kids, the next generation. A new survey shows an increasing number of those parents are not supportive of vaccination. I'd say that's a good start. Findings signal, although, according to their interpretation, a potential public health emergency. What does that mean? It means you begin to realize that public health is a legal fiction and you're no longer going to participate, that you care more about your individual health. And your kids are individuals, they're not collectives. And no socialist nightmare is going to resolve the problem of infectious disease and childhood infections, etc. How did I leap out of that? I didn't want that. Here we go. So let's go back to this article here. Y'all check it out. Read it. According to the survey, support for vaccination has decreased 10% since 2001, from 94% of parents saying it was important to about 84%. Now, they still have vaccine rates for most kids up over 93, 94%, which they still claim is enough for herd immunity. But then if they are honest about it, they'll never get there, because how many adults get boosters? So it puts the real number in terms of total population somewhere closer to, 50, 40%, is it? I'm not sure exactly. But it's not good. And it's not herd immunity, which is nonsense, or community immunity. It's never been proven to be legitimate when it comes to artificial induction of antibodies via vaccination. But you know what was most interesting to me about this article from Rolling Stone that I'm quoting from? It's the comments. The comments on this article. I mean, normally it brings out the trolls big time. The pro-vaccine skeptics come out big time. You know, the first comment on it, to each his own. Nobody's saying you can't have a vaccine if you want them, and people don't want them should be allowed to make that choice. We're getting libertarian arguments coming through on Rolling Stone. It's not the pro-vaccine sycophants and cultists. There are a few. But here's the second response. That's what the elites want. Division. You can't conquer unless you divide. Somebody says, I found my information from the CDC website, looked over the ingredients and said, heck no. Dude, the CDC website is a plethora of info that would make any parent an anti-vaxxer. This didn't used to happen, Super Don. This is a sea change in consciousness, in the shift that they cannot hire enough skepduck bots and duplicate them fast enough to counteract the awakening occurring on the vaccine scam issue. It's over. They've lost. Now, they're still going to battle. They're still going to try and tie it into Real ID and everything else and mandate it, but it ain't going to be an easy ride, especially with what we saw in New Jersey over the past few weeks that resulted in them just dropping it. Now they've tried to reintroduce it. This is pretty wild.
And they have nobody to blame but themselves in this situation. I mean, honestly,
yeah.
This was not something that was a thorn.
Their lies are catching up.
Or at least they thought it was a thorn in their side. Mm-hmm. They used to think that all these anti-vaccination people are so annoying. We need to do something about it. And they had no idea that by doing what they did,
yeah,
you thought you had a problem before?
Yeah. Look at this comment.
Right?
I stopped vaccinating after seeing the damage it was doing to my children. Another comment. Do you know vaccine manufacturers have admitted their vaccines include cancer-causing viruses? I mean, dude, they can't keep up with what's happening here. I mean, there's somebody pushing back on the fetal tissue issue a little bit. Here's my thought, though. Somebody says, Blue Helmet says, if you make a product that can cause a child's death, don't you think you should be liable? So now we're talking about vaccine liability. There is none. And then another one says, blah, 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 just another generic pro-vaccine article that assumes people who decide not to vaccinate haven't done any research. Wow. I mean, you look at there are some, anti-freedom people and pro-vaccine people, but it's not the domination that it was. Now, eventually, now that I've said this, they're gonna track to Rolling Stone's article here and just say, hey, load it up because Robert Scott Bell is showing that we're not here enough. Skeptics are not doing their job, right? The robots are not at it. The Russian bots or whatever they are. But this new survey is just the beginning. The Roaring 20s is the decade, again, we make contact, the year we make contact with our sanity, with intellectual integrity, if not curiosity. And as the WHO struggles to find out how it can regain your confidence, just as the WHO pointed that out in that meeting that we played video from. It's a confidence game. It's a con game. And they're finally losing it after all of these years because they can't contain the information they've been trying to keep you from any longer. As much as they try to censor us, shout us down, call us names, it's only made you more curious. Why are they investing all of this? There's so many things that you could say should be censored. And the one thing that they say needs to be censored is discussion of vaccine controversies. Isn't that weird? You can talk about space aliens. You can talk about flat Earth. You can even talk about the Federal Reserve and the creature from Jekyll Island, but don't talk about vaccines unless you're worshipful of them and say that they're safe and effective and the science is settled and all of these mantras that don't work for thinking people. And you had counted that we weren't thinking people. But the people who listen to the Robert Scott Bell Show, who watch Del Bigtree's High Wire, who read Natural News, go on and on and on, read Jeffrey Jackson, John Rappaport, these are the thinkers now. And I don't mean to worship the mind either. That's not my point. But use your critical thinking skills. For God's sake, that's a great gift. If you got them, use them. And you'll come to similar conclusions, maybe even better conclusions that I've come to here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. So what else we got? Oh, vaccine failures. Let's see where that is. Oh, yeah, check this out. Part two, everybody, on vaccine failures. Numerous studies, both recent and not so recent, indicate that this dose-intensive vaccination regimen, we're talking about pertussis, the DPT or the DTaP, far from providing meaningful protection, may actually be facilitating pertussis outbreaks. Okay? This is from another article from Children's Health Defense. They'll say, oh, RFK Jr., that anti-vaxxer, how dare he? He's a lawyer. He doesn't know. Well, where are they relying on this information? From the peer-reviewed medical literature, from vaccine adverse event reporting, from other things. Over 25,000 cases of pertussis have been reported to the CDC annually. CDC makes no mention of pertussis in its roundup of 9 health threats that made headlines in 2019, whereas 1,276 non-fatal cases of measles made the list. Why aren't they mentioning pertussis? Why isn't that happening? Because it's a failure of the vaccination. In the U.S., children and adults who receive pertussis-containing vaccines, immunity wanes rapidly, a fact known and reiterated for years. Again, coming from peer-reviewed medical literature, the CDC acknowledges it. In 2017, Stanley Plotkin, the godfather of vaccines, what does he say? He says that the vaccine effectiveness drops off as early as 2 to 3 years post-boosters. Plotkin and his 2 co-authors, one affiliated with Sanofi, pointed out to record-breaking 2010 pertussis outbreak in California that witnessed high disease rates in fully vaccinated pre-adolescents. Another study by Kaiser Permanente and Glaxo reported not only does the pertussis vaccine effectiveness wane substantially after the 5th dose, failing by their estimate on average of 27% per year, but waning occurs with all DTaP brands on the market. Failure number 2, pertussis outbreaks are frequent and the majority of cases are occurring in the vaccine. Again, how do you counter this? Just a bunch of anti-vaxxers, right? No, this is being reported from the mainstream in the so-called scientific community. Those that have a vested interest in not having you know this, they are admitting this. 60% of cases in kids, 32% in those aged 1 to 10, 28% in pre-adolescents and adolescents. Failure number 3, pertussis risks are significant in infants, but are also shifting toward adolescence and adulthood. In light of these studies suggesting that subclinically infected adults are the most likely source of transmission, that is, adults getting boosters, it seems possible that cocooning could increase rather than decrease. Number 4, asymptomatic vaccinated individuals are a major source of B pertussis transmission. No symptoms, you've been vaccinated, you're a carrier. Failure number 5, subclinical pertussis infection linked to other serious health risks. Number 6, today's pertussis vaccines are not keeping up with bacterial mutations. Number 7, read it. Number 7, doctors and public health officials are not being forthright about vaccine failure, even though WHO is going to have to acknowledge this soon. Isn't this amazing? This is absolutely incredible what's happening here. And it's coming from within their own circles. It just happens to be that we are putting a spotlight on it. It's no longer hiding in the annals of the medical journals. It is now coming out into the light. Now, nary a mainstream media reporter would dare refer to this article other than to try to discredit it, shout it down, and say, oh, it's just RFK Jr. who's just claiming it. But the reality is pertussis can be minimized, reduced. I won't say eliminated because some of these things are childhood rites of passage, but the severity to the degree so significant reduction that I do not concern myself with it. As I said, my kids were not vaccinated. We utilize homeopathic nosodes. It's called homeoprophylaxis. When you are confronted with pertussis, to use the pertussis nosode is appropriate. You could do it prior. I don't think it's necessary, but you could. And then there are lung remedies that deal with coughs, severe coughs, Bryonia alba, Antimonium tartaricum, toasted SpongeBob. We call it Spongia tosta. And, well, there are more, but Drosera is another good one, Drosera. And we would nebulize silver hydrosol, which, by the way, antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral. There's so many tools that we have that they don't acknowledge, and that they would say, oh, we got to keep you safe from natural medicines, so you only get the real stuff. The real stuff ain't working, folks. The real stuff is harming more than it's helping. And the real stuff is only real because they marketed it to be real, and the fake stuff is only fake because they marketed it to be fake. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I know, conniption fits, heads exploding. Skeptics don't like homeopathy, natural medicine, energy medicine, nature. Fallacy of nature, Robert. That's the fallacy of nature. Really? You're alive because of the fallacy of nature. Dude, I can't help some of these people, if they're even people. So check it out. Links are up in the show notes at robertscottbell.com. All the articles that we got covering today, I'm trying to race through them because there's so much. Super Don threw at me. Let's see where we are right now. Let's see here. We went the boy here. There's vaccine failures. One more thing, two more things. Good Lord, Super Don. How am I going to do this? We got Ty Bollinger coming up momentarily.
We'll save one for extra innings.
Save one for extra innings. Okay, which one? The flame retardants or the burnout?
Burnout.
Okay, so let's do the flame retardant article real quick here. Let's see. I got it right here. All right, let's bring it in. So, flame retardants and pesticides overtake heavy metals as biggest contributors to IQ loss. Now, is this them trying to deflect attention from fluoride and heavy metals like mercury and lead? Is this a distraction or is this real? I would say it's partly real. Because I've been arguing that all of these, when you hear me say the things that I say like I'm reading a script, I'm not. I've been saying it for so many years. Additives, preservatives, colorings, flavorings, pesticides right there, herbicides, fungicides. You know, all of these synthetic chemistry, better living through synthetic chemistry. DuPont will save us all, right? Who makes Agent Orange? Let's drink some of that with our orange juice. Agent Orange juice. None of this stuff is good for any system in our body. Least of all our microbiome, which is now intimately connected to the brain and brain development, much less its functional health in adulthood and in old age. So they're saying now flame retardants and pesticides have overtaken heavy metals. Maybe. But does this mean we not be concerned with heavy metals? Mercury? Super Don, you got a message from our buddy Michael Bolden at the 10th Amendment Center, said that in Washington State, and I know we're not going to cover it in depth right now, but that there's a bill in Washington State talking about ethyl mercury, the kind they claim is safe in a vaccine, which clearly it's not, and they're saying it shouldn't be anywhere in, medicines and vaccines at all in Washington State. That's interesting.
It blew me away because listen, we've been talking about mercury for ever, right? And it seems like every time that something pops up that has anything to do with mercury, they always focus on methyl mercury, right? And they go to great lengths to try and make you understand that, and not make the mistake of thinking that ethyl mercury is bad. It's only methyl mercury that's bad. Well, lo and behold, and we'll cover this in more detail tomorrow, there's a bill that's been introduced a couple of days ago in Washington State by 5 Republicans, 5 Republican sponsors.
Oh, those anti-science Republicans, right?
That's what do. This bill, House Bill 1276, believe it or not, it mentions ethyl mercury as being a problem. It actually says that ethyl mercury is as bad as methyl mercury, and it talks about thimerosal and stuff.
Next thing they have to do is ban Republicans from social media, or the legislature in Washington State will have to be spreading disinformation. Right? How dare they mention mercury? Because there's safe mercury and there's not safe mercury. That's not true. There's no form of mercury that is safe. All right, Super D, we got Ty Bollinger standing by. So we're going to take an early break here. Barely. I've fit a lot into this hour, y'all. I hope you're up with me. If not, rewind and replay. The information is that good. Or link to the articles in our show notes. And, get wise about this stuff. Many of you already are. Share it with your friends and family. I know my mom complains. She's like, all of my friends, they won't pay attention to this stuff. Well, Mom, keep going. They'll either perish or they'll figure it out. And you're going to help them dance their way to hopefully better health. Thank you, Mom. And happy pre-birthday. I know it's 9 days away from now. All right, we're going to take a break. This is the place for health, freedom, and healing liberty. You're listening to the Robert Scott Bell Show on Natural News Radio. Go to robertscottbell.com and plug into all the great healing that we got, including all of our wonderful sponsors. Their banners are there. And also, you can become a patron supporter. And Super Don will tell us maybe in the bonus time today later about all the new lost episodes of the Robert Scott Bell Show, including, I believe, Liam Sheff, the dearly departed Liam Sheff, and Rob Verkerk from England, a PhD from England. Very cool, from one of the old Health Freedom Expos.
And Andy Wakefield.
And Dr. Wakefield, too. So we got some great stuff coming up for our patrons. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with Ty Bollinger. He's on the road. That means his internet's going to be great. He's going to look wonderful. And his biceps are still bigger than my head. The power to heal is still yours, too.
The Robert Scott Bell Show. The Robert Scott Bell Show.
Have you ever watched a movie with superheroes and villains? If so, you already understand the science of drinking hydrogen-enriched water and how to unlock true health. Allow me to explain. In our bodies, we have a natural struggle between superheroes and villains, with molecular hydrogen being the superhero and oxidative stress the villain. So how does knowing that give you the tools to unlock true health? Your body is naturally designed to fight oxidative stress through specific bacteria in the gut that creates hydrogen on their own. Pretty awesome, right? So why does this matter? Well, in most people, the hydrogen-creating bacteria is gone, and cancer and disease soon follow. So the real question is, why aren't we trying to fix this every day? Well, the answer is simple. It's hard. Even the most healthy of individuals who biohack take months or years to achieve this balance. But how do we get there without taking months or even years? After years of study and development, we discovered and designed the perfect technology that made it all possible. We call this technology Echo H2 Water. Within minutes of drinking hydrogen-rich water from our Echo Hydrogen water machines, you are back in control, balanced, and feeling amazingly hydrated and healthy. Having your own Echo Hydrogen water machine is kind of like having your own team of superheroes on call, always available to fight the villains in your body. Pretty cool, right? But don't just take our word for it. Get your Echo H2 water machine today and quickly bring your body into balance with hydrogen.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.
I listen to get accurate, up-to-date information.
I've learned so much from him.
It is awesome. It's the best entertainment that I've found.
You rock the health world. Keep it up. I love you.
Now, the voice of health, freedom, and liberty, here's Robert Scott Bell.
All right, hour two now begins, and what an hour two it is, because we have our good buddy, Ty Bollinger, scheduled. As I said, the guy with biceps bigger than my head, just enough to lift me up, carry me off the stage, although this last Truth About Cancer, I escaped that because apparently I was one of the MCs, and he didn't want to attack an MC, so he carried somebody else off the stage. Ty, my buddy, my brother, my bodyguard, what's going on?
Well, you were too heavy, Robert. My biceps used to be bigger than your head. Now I'm just an old guy, and Robert Scott Bell was too heavy, so I had to pick someone lighter. So there's actually only one person lighter at the whole crowd, and of all the speakers, one person lighter than Robert, and that was my good buddy here in Nashville, Dr. Chris Motley, who I think he's probably 5 pounds lighter than you. So I carried him off.
Well, I've been putting on weight, man. I'm over 140 now, so I've been working out. So I'm trying to catch up. I think that's like one of your biceps is 140. So we're getting there.
I was 140 in third grade.
I know it annoys people, but I don't mean to do it that way. I just want to build some muscle, get back in the workout routine, and I am, and it's going well. So TMB, as we go OTB, outside the box. We are excited. Actually, I'm excited to learn that the TTAC, which is Know the Truth About Cancer, is bringing back for the first time in 3+ years, the Truth About Vaccines, TTAV. And of course, as I said, oh my gosh, the mainstream media is going to love you now. The WHO should embrace you based on what they're saying.
Yeah, they should. We're actually we can talk about that too, the video that you're referring to, but we're going to be launching the Truth About Vaccines for the first time since 2017. Here in April, so just a few months away. Really excited about that. It'll be the first relaunch of the Truth About Vaccines since we initially aired it in April of 2017. So Charlie and I talked about it, and vaccines are the issue of 2020. I mean, this is the year that they're going to try to take vaccine freedom, more and more, and it's also the year of elections. Mm-hmm. And you better make your position on vaccines heard to the people that are running for office in your districts, your state, because this could be the biggest election of our lifetime. It probably will be. And one of the main things that people need to be informed about is vaccine freedom.
Yeah. And think about what just happened in New Jersey, Ty. I mean, a stunning victory, albeit temporary, because we still got to be vigilant, always be vigilant. But they were about to pass a similar law like that was in California and New York to violate religious freedom and say nobody gets to say no to vaccines unless a doctor signs off on it. And then you find out when they succeed in eliminating religious freedom, doctors won't sign off on it because they're too scared to lose their license for writing exemptions that will be challenged by the state bureaucracy.
Yeah, it's like we're going to still give you an exemption, but it's not really an exemption because you're not going to be able to get it because the doctors are too afraid now. Yeah. It's really a shame too. Because no matter what people want to tell you about the founding of the United States, we were founded on freedom.
Yeah.
We were founded to be a free nation, to not have our the government dictate to us what we have to do. It's a nation of moral freedom, religious freedom, freedom from a tyrannical government. And when you have governments like the state of California stepping in and saying, you must do this to go to school, New York, you must do this. There's no religious exemptions. There's no medical exemptions. Otherwise, you can't go to school. That's antithetical to the founding principles of this country. So, like I said, religious freedom is the biggest. Vaccine freedom is the biggest issue of 2020, and that's why we're relaunching Truth About Vaccines. And what you said something funny though, the WHO. I think it was over the break. The WHO should be considered anti-vaxxers. Mm-hmm. What does Robert mean by that? Well, I think he said that they've been talking about this on the show the last couple of days. The WHO scientist at the 1st of December 2019 here caught on tape saying, we don't have very good vaccine safety studies. We should have better studies. That's exactly what we've been saying for years, but we're labeled anti-vaxxers. Mm. So I guess the WHO now should be banned from Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and GoFundMe and Google because they are anti-vax, because they say we don't have good studies, we should get better.
Yeah, it is kind of ironic. And they're now saying that they screwed up by promoting this anti-vaxxer term because it just like fake news, like the media tried to claim we were fake news and that Trump called them out on it. The same thing happened is that we are calling them anti-vaxxers now for asking the same dang questions we've been asking for a lot of years. And we know that they don't have the answers to it. Now they're just getting around to admit it. And they're saying, trust us. We weren't lying. We didn't know. We did,
Well, one of the other things that blew me away in that WHO meeting was one of the doctors at the very end saying, one of our biggest problems is those that are on the doctors and the nurses that are on the vaccine front lines. I think they said that was the exact term. They are not sure about the safety of vaccines, and they're not sure how to answer questions about vaccine safety. So
they're losing their very providers. Is what I predicted. I said they'll go from the doctors to the nurses to the pharmacists to the checkout clerks to the janitors. Whoever they can get that's still willing to administer this stuff, because they've lost the narrative, and it's not going to get better for them. The more they try to censor us, suppress it, if they're going to try and bash the truth about vaccines when it comes back out in April, it's going to blow back on them, and more people than ever are going to want to know about it. And, the reality is the doctors now are acknowledging, oh, my gosh, we were lied to about the so-called safety of vaccines.
Well, that's one of the quotes in that. And I don't know if you've gotten to that. You said you were kind of parsing it and dissecting it. But that's one of the quotes at the very end that I think will blow you away. And not many people commented on it. But to me, it was maybe the most telling quote in the whole thing, is that one of the lead doctors there said, doctors don't know anything about vaccines. They only get about a half day of vaccine training in medical school. They admit that at the WHO meeting, that doctors don't know anything about vaccines. They admit that they only get about 3 hours of training at most on vaccines. That's what we've been saying, but we're conspiracy theorists and anti-vaxxers, and now the WHO is saying the same thing.
Yeah, and they may not get that much in nutritional training either. We don't know anymore. I mean, maybe it's changing, but the reality is they've lost the narrative, and I can't wait for the re-rollout of the Truth About Vaccines. So all of y'all that are new to the Robert Scott Bell Show or the Truth About Cancer and Ty Bollinger, you got something really exciting to look forward to, because that series, how many chapters in that series? I don't remember at this point. 5 to 8? What was it?
There's 7 episodes in the docuseries, but then over the next couple of months, I'm going to be creating 2 new ones.
Excellent.
So to basically catch people up on what's happened since 2017 when we launched to today, and that'll be like the 2 day 8 and day 9 episodes to catch them up. And so it's going to be a lot of brand new material. Excellent.
And there's so much more to do. I mean, the basics don't change about the vaccine issue, but the revelations since that originally came out are more stunning than ever, because from the mouths of those who've been calling us names and trying to censor us, they are admitting what we have been pointing out. And that is different. That is much different. Now, our first official story is about global warming and climate change. And the new rock star of that movement apparently is Greta Van Thunberg. Greta Van Thunberg, I call her. Her father, apparently, according to this Natural News article, was caught using her Facebook posts in her name, basically, if anybody didn't figure it out, this is not Greta Thunberg's idea. Apparently, our parents are very much into this, and whatever MK Ultra stuff is going on with this girl is playing out in the claims of climate change and global warming, which I pointed out is the leading cause of arson down there in Australia.
Yeah, it is. With Greta, she's definitely a pawn of her parents and also of the other controllers that want to push this agenda. But I actually feel kind of sorry for her because she's just being used, right? She's clearly being used by her parents. I don't know if you've read much about her parents, but both her mom and her dad are pieces of work, let's just say, in my opinion. And so they're really using her as a pawn to get across this agenda, which I seriously doubt she really knows much about at all. No. I suspect that she's been indoctrinated by her parents and probably by the school systems, and then been being fed these one-liners and these things to say, when in reality she doesn't really know much more than just the talking points. And then you follow that up with her father getting busted, posting for her, acting like it's her on Facebook account. It's just a little disingenuous. I mean, I don't have any problem with people sharing Facebook accounts, but if it's Greta's dad, say, this is Greta's dad.
Yeah.
Don't act like it's her.
Yeah,
be honest.
I asked Super Don last hour because he's a dad and a granddad, and I said, would you ever consider like capturing, let's say, your kids, their Facebook or Twitter, Instagram, and just start posting as if you were them? And I was like, yeah, no, I don't. What dad does that? That it's just like, I'd be watching out. Hey, is there anything inappropriate going on? Right. But dude, no, I'm not going to start posting as my daughter. That's just kind of strange.
No, that's a heck no. I mean, it's like, no, you don't do that. It reminds me of the scene in Office Space when, I don't know if you remember Peter, and he's the guy in the office, and then his next door neighbor is the actor that played on the Beverly Hillbillies. He's just this country hick that works in construction. And that day at work, this lady comes up to him and she goes, "It looks like someone's got a case of the Mondays." And Peter asks his neighbor, he goes, "On your construction job, would anybody ever say, 'Hey, it looks like you got a case of the Mondays'?" He goes, "No, man. Heck no. I believe you get your butt kicked for saying something like that." And it's the same way. It's like this unwritten rule. You don't take over somebody's social media. Sometimes I'll get on to our social media, which Charlene does everything on. But if I do, even though it's not really under her name, it's under our name, I'll say, "This is Ty," because I never post on it. And most people know it's Charlene. And so I want to be clear. It's me posting. It's not Charlene saying this. So it's just really dishonest for the dad to do that and act like it's Greta.
Well, I'm gonna listen. I got to come clean on something here, Ty. My wife just busted me. She texted me. She says, "What about mine?" Because my wife sometimes, she doesn't like to do social media at all, but especially like when she's texting her friends. They're friends of mine too, but they're her friends. And I'll often get on there. I say often when she's right there, and I will reply as her, just to kind of throw her friends off, and they all figured it out. Did your husband get that phone and steal it from you again? An example of this, and this is going to make me seem like a real cad apparently, but one of her friends was at the New Jersey protest, and she was talking about all the wonderful things that happened there in their win, and then she was saying, "I watched the Trump thing and I really enjoyed the rally, and I think he's really cool." And then I grabbed my wife's phone because it was a text thing, and I went back and I said, "Yeah, and his wife is hot too."
That's funny.
But I got busted. She knew immediately it wasn't my wife that said that. So
well,
okay.
Sure, yeah. I mean, nothing wrong with that when you do it in jest. I mean, that's different.
Yeah, no, that is different.
It's different than trying to pass as someone else.
Right. No, I wasn't doing that, and sometimes my son does that to me, or to my wife, and it's funny. It's just goofy. But again, this is different what we're talking about here. And also, I want to recognize and acknowledge that if Thunberg and her ilk and her parents' ilk got their way about the whole climate change claims, and they would shut down all of the energy production that we have today, that would be a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're talking about the end of the world as we know it. 3/4 of the world's population would die because they rely on the energy system as it is. And they're not talking about a transition. They're going cold turkey, and they don't care who dies. Maybe that's because the people behind this have an agenda to depopulate the earth.
That's because they're the useless eaters. I mean, it is an agenda. I mean, I'm being sarcastic, but that's what they call them. There is an agenda to get rid of people that are deemed to be not contributing to the world or society. That's just the reality. So I don't know if that's part of this or not, but it certainly is there.
Yeah. By the way, if y'all are watching on YouTube, of all places, we do go out on Twitter's Periscope And we go out on, let's see, where else do we go out on? Facebook Live, Twitch, D-Live. There's so many things. I can't keep up with it now. Available on, I don't know, 10, 20 podcast sites. It's crazy. But if you are watching live, while we still can go out on YouTube, of course, our archives are going up to Brighteon, thanks to Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. But if you're watching live on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. There are a bunch of people up there, and apparently it improves the algorithm. And our buddy Michael Bolden from the 10th Amendment Center knows about that. He's an algorithm kind of guy, as is Ty Bollinger. He knows numbers and math. If I have a math question, I call up Ty Bollinger.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that. I did this analysis. I did a rebuttal last week, and remember the article that we rebutted and about how our chemotherapy truthers, the new anti-vaxxers, and I rebutted that. Mm-hmm. I think I did that Friday, so we didn't even really talk about that rebuttal. But one of the things that I did in that rebuttal is I talked about the amount of mercury that's in vaccines. Even in vaccines that are deemed to be thimerosal free, they still have mercury. And I did this calculation where I converted micrograms per liter into parts per billion, and that way you can get the density, because that's the way the FDA and the EPA measure toxins, is in parts per billion. Mm-hmm. So in order to get there, you have to step up mathematically. This small vaccine, if you can convert that amount to a liter, how much is in the liter, and then how many parts per billion is that, then you step back down. It's just a mathematical formula. Well, somebody gets on, after I do the calculation, they comment in the article, says, I don't think I believe what Ty's saying, because I've never taken a liter of vaccines at any time, and I don't think anybody in their whole life, you could even accumulate a liter of vaccines. And it's like, I'm not saying you take a liter. We're calculating parts per billion. You have to step up to a liter to get parts per billion, because however much in 1 liter is that amount of parts per billion. That's how the way they measure it. Mm-hmm. And but anyway, it's just kind of funny. You mentioned mathematics, and somebody was questioning that, and I get it. Some of these formulas are kind of confounded, but certainly wasn't insinuating that somebody takes a liter of vaccines at one time.
Well, I think it was what was the guy Offit that said you could take 10,000 of those things, right? So maybe
he did.
Maybe in Offit's case. By the way, calling Ty a musclehead, you think about that term as being derogatory because he's not smart. Dude, he's not only muscular, but he's brainy, and he knows math. So there, in your face. I
do know math pretty well. Yeah. Some things, I have a hard time with, but math, I'm okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, mathematically, I don't know what the amount is in terms of flu shots or flu. But, listen, we're not for the flu, right? Because we say flu shots are bunk, and they admit that they never really match it well each and every year in the percentage of validity. But again, that's not we're pro-flu. But then again, most of the flu, we realize they don't even analyze to say, is it actually a flu virus? It's a flu-like illness. And the complications from the flu being pneumonia or other things that may be very serious. That's true. But they're often brought about by pharmaceutical interventions like Tylenol, like other anti-fever medications, on antibiotics and such. And there's a story here about an Iowa girl losing her vision after rare complication from the flu. This is at Iowa City. There's urgent new calls for children to get vaccinated against the flu with a flu shot that doesn't work, by the way. And they use these tragedies as promotions of a product that doesn't even work. She said she had a low-grade fever last month. She was laying in her bed, not moving. Rare complication attacking her brain. And again, none of this is a reason to take a flu shot, though, because many of these flu shots, Ty, still contain 25 micrograms of mercury if you're getting the multi-dose container. And even if not, there's trace amounts of things and other things that can create these aberrant inflammatory encephalitic responses that could result in these so-called rare side effects or disorders.
Yeah, there certainly is a lot of bad stuff in the flu vaccine. On this article, I'm not in front of my computer, clearly. I'm actually about 50 to 60 feet away from where I was last week. I'm in this exact same parking lot, in the Kroger parking lot.
By the way, last week was even a little better of your connection. You're a little pixelated today. Not bad, but wherever you were, the signal was stronger last week.
Well, I was 50 feet away in the same parking lot. That's kind of odd. So
doesn't that tell you about the strength of these signals? 50 feet can make a difference.
Makes a difference. But I don't know if the little girl, and I feel terrible that she's blinded, but was she vaccinated for the flu, or did she not get the flu vaccine?
Yeah, I'm looking at the article. I'm seeing if they claimed it, that she had the flu and a rare complication. The vaccine is not it's a once a year vaccine. It doesn't last a year. I mean, it becomes a vaccine promoting article rather than going into great detail about their claims that she lost her vision due to the flu. And I don't know if this is 100% validated, but of course, the way the mainstream media operates, you can't assume that they're telling you the truth, because these medical reporters, especially at the highest levels like CBS, they don't ask the questions that we ask to find out what really is going on.
Yeah, so I'd like to know if she had the vaccine. And then you have other, you sent me an article of a little boy that actually was vaccinated, that actually died from.
And got Tamiflu.
And got Tamiflu. So, I think the problem is it's the media is very much they cherry pick, right? They cherry pick as far as which stories are going to get covered. And so if you have a measles outbreak in a school where at a public school that everyone's vaccinated, nobody will cover it. But if it's a measles outbreak where there's, only 40% vaccination, they're going to blame those that were not vaccinated. It'll get all over the headlines. And in a situation like this, you wonder, is there media bias as far as just cherry picking stories? Not that it makes any difference for the boy that died from the flu or the flu vaccine potentially. Not that it makes any difference for the girl that's been blinded if she in fact she has been blinded from the flu.
Yeah.
But it's just very disingenuous to only cover one side of it, because
it's not real reporting.
I guarantee you that if somebody was came down with the flu, was blinded from the flu, had gotten the flu shot, and had only been around people that had gotten the flu shot in a 100% vaccinated area, it probably wouldn't be covered.
No, they certainly would omit certain facts. So as we find that, they say that there might be recovery. It's possible. They're hopeful that her sight will return again. But if this was a complete article, Ty, they would go into that background status, and we would be asking the question: what did the doctors do to intervene with a child that has flu or flu-like illnesses? Did they resort to child Tylenol? Did they give antibiotics, which also have nasty effects, not only to liver, but microbiome, immunity, and neurological integrity? There are so many issues here that medical reporters are trained not to ask. And so the real reporting is not happening there at CBS in this article. There are a lot of questions that are unanswered.
Yeah, there are. And the number one, I would like to know if the little girl had the flu vaccine to start with. And if so, then it's really a disingenuous article, because really, as you mentioned, the push of the article is to get more flu vaccines. Well, if the girl that was hopefully temporarily blinded from the flu actually got the flu vaccine, then it's literally not just a little bit of misinformation. It's just a complete lie of an article. It's a false. It is fake news.
So what do we do at home? Flu season or flu shot season. Of course, we don't flu shot our kids, our parents. We don't do that. My mom's out there. She's a zealot. My mom, she's going to be 86 this month, Ty. And she's like, why don't my friends listen to me about the flu shot? It's stupid, And so she has silver. We have silver hydrosol. You have it. We have beta glucan from Reggie and the gang at Better Way Health, modulating our immune system. People can take echinacea. They can increase selenium levels. There's so many things that can work against vulnerability to viral infection, so to speak, that to think that you would have to rely on a flu shot that doesn't work anyway. I mean, there's so much information, but that was the World Health Organization in hour one. They're really targeting natural medicine rather than supporting native medicines. They are overwhelming them with drugs that support their very existence at WHO.
Yeah, not only vaccines are under attack, natural medicine in general is under attack. Homeopathy is under attack. We got several emails over the last few days from one of these watchdog organizations that's like, why is this not mentioned on your site? Why do you promote fake cures? And then why do you? And I mean, it's clearly a bunch of hit piece. It's probably a bunch of media hacks that have formed. I think it's called. I can't remember what the name of the organization is. I don't want to say it if it's not correct, but I talked to Mike Adams about it. He goes, yeah, that's a bunch of hacks that are ex pharma hacks that are now out attacking all alternative websites. And they're doing it with the intention that eventually if you've been deemed to be a legitimate website by these totally biased, protection agencies, then you get a green check. But if you're deemed to have false information, you get like a red stop sign in the browser window when somebody pulls your website up. And so anyway, natural medicine is under attack. And you can't engage with them because they don't want the truth.
No, they're
right?
not. They're not interested. And I love the idea of for most people that wake up in this way, they see a stop sign, they say don't go there, or they see information about this. Like on Facebook, you'll see this group discusses vaccines, and then they have a link to the CDC for what they call legitimate information, which we call official stories. And many people now, when they see that, they immediately think, oh, there's something they don't want me to know. I want to know. So the opposite is occurring. Rather than stopping people, it's getting people more interested, which is human nature and curiosity. So thank you for censoring or attempting to censor us.
Exactly. Yeah, and you're right. And several of the things that they accused us of, spreading false cures, false information, whatever. The link that they gave as quote corroboration was either from the American Cancer Society or the CDC. It's like, are you kidding me? You're quoting fake news to support your position? That's about as biased as it gets, and it's not scientific.
Pretty amazing. Well, listen, let's take a break here. We've got Outside the Box here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. Links are up in the show notes at robertscottbell.com. We'll take you to about the truth about cancer, and again, excited to hear that around April of 2020, the re-release with additional information, additional episodes, the truth about vaccines. Very, very cool. I want to say thanks to our friends that support this message of health, freedom, and healing liberty, including our friends at Synergy Science and the key technology that we use to protect ourselves and our family from EMFs.
Today, we live in an omnipresent cloud of charged particles emitted by electronic devices, electromagnetic fields, WLAN, and radio waves. These particles penetrate our bodies and heat the water in our body tissues. Recent scientific studies have shown that this particle flux not only heats the cells in our bodies as if we were in a microwave oven, but damages them as well. At Key Technologies, we want to protect you from the negative effects of such particles, so we have developed the Key Home Cell and other products. The Key Home Cell creates a protective field that works like a filter, intercepting any dangerous particles before they can enter your body. Here we have a partial look at the inner workings of the Key Home Cell. The Key Home Cell generates a charge exchange between the water tubes, thereby discharging free electrons and releasing them into the room. Within 24 hours, the Key Home Cell creates a torus field. The free electrons formed in the torus use their negative charge to bind to the positively charged harmful particles, thereby rendering them harmless to you. The torus field has an effective range of 16.4 feet above and below, and 24.6 feet around the device. The torus field created by the Key Home Cell is transmitted and provides you with protection through the walls of your home. Not only humans and animals are shielded from harmful radiation, but plants and food too. Whether mobile radio waves or WLAN, any particles that come within the torus field can no longer cause any harm to you or your family. The Key Home Cell provides you with all-around protection, allowing you to communicate with absolute peace of mind when using your cell phone or any other electronic devices. The Key Home Cell's free electrons are transmitted into the water through the torus field and repairing the water structure that was destroyed by radiation particles. Water regains its ideal vibrating hexagonal grid structure. The difference is easy to taste and can be proven with laboratory testing. This type of perfect hexagonal water structure is found in fresh spring and healing water and has also been seen in snowflakes. The same effect happens with our food, which also contains water. The Key Home Cell greatly reduces radiation exposure from cell phones, laptops, WLAN transmitters, mobile terminals, and other sources of radiation. The Key Home Cell drastically reduces the thermal stress on your body tissue. It is very fast and very easy. With the Key Home Cell, you will experience a new quality of well-being within your home and more life energy without any unhealthy exposure to radiation.
Here we go, y'all. More of Outside the Box here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. I'm excited. I was pumped up, and I'm still pumped up, Ty Bollinger. Not just because you showed up, although that really does pump me up. But there's so much happening. We're only halfway through January, barely 2020, as we aired today. And the transformation that we've been talking about on the air for years and years and years, it's like a quickening, an acceleration. It's like we've got to be prepared also for the blowback, for the pushback, as the bad guys become increasingly desperate to suppress the information that is transforming people and empowering them.
Oh yeah, there will continue to be more and more blowback. It's kind of like I guess if something is drowning And then at the very end, before they drown, and we're not talking about a person here because I would never talk about a person drowning. But if it's, let's say, an animal drowning, right? Yeah. And now the PETA people will hate me, but we're talking about an animal drowning. Right before they go under, they're like just flailing, right? And it's almost like that. It's almost getting to that point with the anti-natural medicine crowd, the anti-vax crowd. I'm sorry, with the pro-vax crowd, the anti-natural medicine crowd. It's almost to that point. You almost feel like they're just flailing. They know they're losing, and they're just throwing caution to the wind. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the things they say don't make a bit of sense.
No. What about the anti-vaxxers at the highest levels of the World Health Organization? They're going to have to fight. They got to censor themselves.
They will, because they think that there's not good vaccine safety, and we should improve safety. So I guess by definition, now they're anti-vaxxers. We're gonna censor the WHO. They're gonna have their Facebook account removed.
Yeah, we're hearing rumor that they are being banned now by social media. That's just to avoid any attention from Adam Schiff. Ooh, yuck. You're saying his name, I get kind of grossed out. All right, another gross thing to talk about, cancer, of course. And the truth about cancer, remember what started this for you, the book, Cancer, Step Outside the Box. For those of you that don't know Ty's history, dad, family members dying of cancer, or as I learned even in my family, treatment for cancer is what killed them. So the question of what are you going to do about that? And Ty, in your case, you said, I'm going to tell the world. We need to let everybody know. We got to warn them. And there's a great article that it looks like it just came out yesterday, officially at Truth About Cancer website. We have it linked up at robertscottbell.com. You can see it. Does plastic cause cancer? How to avoid cancer-causing plastics. And you have a nice image here of how to avoid the different plastics that have these numbers that are supposedly really great and environmental because they're recyclable, 1, 2 through 7. But what do we know in terms of the scientific journals acknowledging the role of plastics in causing cancer?
Well, we know that several different types of plastics do cause cancer. I mean, there's not really too much debate over that. The purpose of the article really is to show people that most of the plastics have been linked to cancer. There's a couple of different categories that are less toxic. So then if you do need to use plastic, you can get your products from those categories. And I don't have the article in front of me, so I don't want to name the numbers because I don't remember the numbers on the diagram.
But I got them here. There's 7 of them you list. I think it says from PET, polyethylene terephthalate, to HDPE, PVC, LDPE, PP, PS, and others. So 1 through 7. And again, I don't know. Did you find ones that seem to be less invasive or less concerning as it comes to cancer manifestation?
Yeah, at the bottom of the article there should be a recommendation for a couple of types that are less toxic. I think the main thing that you want to look out for plastics is, number one, is it something that you're ingesting from? Mm-hmm. So it's different. I mean, there's plastic that's in your cushions in your couches. There's plastic that's likely in your flooring. We're exposed. There's plastic in cosmetics. There's plastic in animal beds. So it's worse if it's something that you're ingesting. So in other words, if you're drinking out of plastic bottles that are in these toxic, most of the plastic bottles, especially when they have the bisphenols, you don't want to be drinking out of them. That's that's worse than if there's that same kind of plastic that potentially is in your in what you walk on, in your flooring or something like that. So I think that you need to be aware that there are a lot of toxic types of plastics that have been linked to cancers, but also what are you using them for? And I think our main recommendations is if you're eating it, if you're cooking in it, if you're drinking it, then use glass or use a plastic that doesn't have the bisphenols. It's in one of the safer categories. Well,
I think that you reference as well in the article that even some of the ones that claim to be safer, if you're cooking in it, if you're heating it, and I don't know what it is in those little Keurig cups, those like coffee makers.
Those are horrible.
Yeah, I mean, like, what were they thinking? I mean, anybody that's a coffee drinker.
I don't remember the type of plastic that's in there, but those are really, really bad because of the type of plastic and because when you heat it, it releases some of the plastic. So those are really bad. I think a good general rule is if you're drinking, try to drink out of glass. And if you're cooking, cook out of glass or, the cast iron is even better. I think I love cast iron. I cook eggs in that almost every day.
Yes.
But don't cook in plastic.
Yeah.
Don't cook in plastic. Don't drink out of plastic. And if you have a microwave, get rid of it, because that's the worst. You're getting plastic, but you're also getting electromagnetic frequencies.
Yeah, and of course the alteration of the integrity of proteins. You can denature them through microwave technology. I use the glass bottles. They usually have like a silicone wrap or something that it makes them less vulnerable to breakage. But we send our daughter to school with that. I mean, these kinds of things we can do. We can strategically make better choices because, some people will say, Ty, that, everything causes cancer. I give up. And it's like, we don't want to point that out so you give up. The idea is to take one step at a time to clean up your act, right? As I said, eating organic is important, but even if you start with the dirty dozen, we've talked about that, and then there's the clean 15. You can make decisions to make your life a little easier along the way as you find out it's more important. Then you make those changes, and then, it's difficult at first, but then it becomes just normal and natural, and you're like, what's the problem? This is the way I've been doing it for 25 years.
Yeah, it takes about 21 to 25 days literally to create a habit. That's what most of the studies are showing. So if you do it for 3 weeks, it's a habit. Mm-hmm. And then, and this doesn't have anything to do with drinking or eating or whatever, but I determined back, I guess it was right before the live event this last year, that I'm going to jog/run/walk. I mix it up. I go fast and I go slow for at least 20 minutes a day. And I said, I'm going to make a habit of this. And what I did at first is, if I don't get my 20-minute run/jog/walk in, I did try more kind of burst training on it, but at least 20 minutes of that, I don't get to eat that night, right? So I don't get a meal. So I was determined I'm going to get this done because I wanted to be able to eat, right? And so after a few weeks, I realized now I'm not thinking about, well, I've got to do this because if not, I don't get my evening meal. I just am like, okay, it's about time I go to run now. And mentally, it just clicked, and it's like, it's a habit. And I can honestly say from that point till today, I've only missed 1 day.
Nice.
And the 1 day that I missed running actually was this past Sunday. And the only reason that I missed it was because there was playoff games on. Yeah. And I didn't want to miss the playoff. Didn't want to miss the playoff games. But guess what? I didn't eat dinner Sunday night. Wow. I made myself skip because I didn't get my run in. So, hey.
Amazing. Well, listen, I'm grateful.
It's not really amazing though. No? It's just, you say amazing. I mean, I get it's just, but it's really what it is. It's just practical ways to create good habits. Mm-hmm. So.
All right. Well, look, good habits are good habits, and I will say it's wonderful. If it's not amazing, it's a wonderful thing. And like I said,
wonderful works. Amazing is good too. Yeah. I just have to give you a little bit of heck sometimes.
Of course you do. Now let's give some heck to the American Cancer Society and all those pro-cancer. They're saying it. We're anti-cancer, but they really only pay lip service to diet, Ty, because they say, eat a good diet, don't smoke. But what is a good diet? If we say it's organic and non-GMO, they'll say you're being orthorexic. Don't be silly. There's an article here from Medical Express that says this: unfruitful, eating more produce will not cure or stop prostate cancer. So this whole argument of eating well, they're contravening their own advice. Well, it really doesn't matter. All of our data suggests that you can eat cleaner foods. It's not going to alter whether you actually get prostate cancer. I mean, what can they have it both ways? Eat better, but don't?
Yeah, eat better, but it won't matter. But go ahead and eat better, but it's not going to matter. It doesn't matter. No, it doesn't make any sense. And with articles like that, they literally lessen their credibility with every article, because people can see that, and just the smell test, it doesn't pass the smell test. It's like, of course, what you eat is going to affect your diagnosis and or your healing protocol. Of course, it's going to matter. It doesn't mean that juicing and eating vegetables will cure the cancer, and it doesn't mean that everybody that only eats vegetables will never get prostate cancer. Mm-hmm. But certainly your diet has something to do with it. And the article, I did get a chance to peek at that article before I hit the road. They're insinuating it really doesn't matter, doesn't affect diagnosis, and it really won't affect recovery. And that just doesn't make any sense. And people know that doesn't make any sense. Well, of course, your diet matters.
Check out what Super Don pointed out in one of the paragraphs of this article. They say, just as you said, doesn't matter, but you should still eat good, but it really doesn't matter. And then they say, but then they said, however, While eating a healthy diet rich in fruits and vegetables and getting more exercise may not cure cancer, that's what they say. Here's the thing that you're going to love. It may keep the body stronger and healthier, which may help patients tolerate cancer treatment.
So it won't cure cancer, but it'll help you
survive
not die from
treatment.
the poisons that we inject you with to try to heal the cancer.
Oh my gosh. Dude, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's like, well, we tell you to eat great, but we say it really doesn't matter. But hey, maybe you should, because when we poison you after you get the cancer we say you can't prevent, you might survive our treatment if you had been eating better all along.
Yeah. Yeah, those fruits and vegetables might actually help you survive our chemical poisoning, so go ahead and eat them.
That is basically what the conclusion of the article is. Go ahead and eat good, so when we poison you, you'll survive our poison.
It makes no sense. How about we do this? How about we skip the poison and just eat good?
You think? That again, but
there you go.
That might cut into their need for treatment, and that would not be good for business. As you know, the business of disease is business, and it's more disease. It's managing the diseases that they also, as I argue, help to create through their misinformation and disinformation, as well as their promotion of all kinds of treatments for all kinds of things that they've also created and started probably from the first vaccine for hepatitis B as a baby. And then they manage those diseases with other drugs that create more diseases. So rather than modern medicine being the third leading cause of death, I argue they're the first because they're the leading cause of heart disease and cancer.
It's big business, Robert. You mentioned that. And it took me to one of my favorite comedy movies called Major Payne with Damon Wayans. Have you ever seen Major Payne?
It's been a long time, so I don't remember all those funny things.
So there's one line in it where he says, "Killing is my business and business is good." And, it makes me think of the big pharma. It's not necessarily killing, but, creating disease is their business. Creating lifelong customers of their products is their business, and business is good. Right. I think I've told you the story before about the guy that I went to Baylor with that was on the board of one of the pharma companies that he said, I can't do this anymore. When he realized in their long-term planning meetings, they were doing statistical analysis of the number of people that would die from the drugs that they were launching. Mm-hmm. And then if the money that they would make from the drugs if it outpaced the lawsuits from the deaths, they would put that drug on the market. And they were already planning for the 2 or 3 drugs that they were going to release to combat the side effects of that drug that they hadn't yet released yet as well. And he realized at that point, he said, we're not into health. This is just money, making money on people's sickness.
Yeah. And so I don't recall, it's been fast and furious here as I'm calling the shots here. I'm doing what a studio full of people behind the scenes would normally be doing while we're live on the air with Ty Bollinger. I'm just going to show you the screen grab just in case you think I'm making it up about that statement from this Medical Express article about the Journal of American Medical Association, JAMA Journal. However, while eating a healthy diet rich in fruits and vegetables and getting more exercise may not cure cancer, it may keep the body stronger and healthier, which may help patients tolerate cancer treatments. They're not even committing to that. It may, but basically, again, it's just ludicrous. It's like, yeah, eat well if you want, but it's really because we intend to poison you. When you get the cancer, we say is inevitable because we don't say you really do need to eat well. It doesn't really matter, except if you want to survive our treatment, that's coming inevitably because you follow lockstep with what we tell you because we're the American Cancer Society or whatever the official story is.
It doesn't make any sense. And if it's going to help to combat the chemical poisoning, why wouldn't it help combat the original prognosis, right? Why wouldn't eating a healthy diet help to avoid a diagnosis of cancer? I mean, it logically would, but of course we've seen over and over that these articles aren't necessarily chock full of logic.
No, not at all. They're lacking in logic. They're also, I don't know if they're lacking or if they're too abundant in MSG. I don't know if you saw this latest story from, let's see, what is this, about McDonald's? Or is it about a competition of McDonald's? No, it is McDonald's. Check this out.
Yeah, McDonald's.
It says McDonald's turns to MSG in bid to be a player in chicken sandwiches. Apparently, they're not able to keep up with Popeyes and Chick-fil-A, so they're just going to go, hey, we'll throw MSG in there, get people addicted to that excitotoxin, apparently.
Well, I mean, it is addictive, and it does taste good. I mean, it doesn't taste good to me anymore, but I remember used to, before I knew anything about eating healthy, I remember foods with MSG, they have a different taste, and they do addict people. So I mean, I'm shocked though, because McDonald's has always been concerned about health so much that I'm shocked that they're considering putting MSG in the chicken, because everything else is so healthy on the menu.
Yeah, I just I wonder if other chicken sandwiches have it though, because I think about,
I don't know.
Well, think about people that are into Chick-fil-A. They don't realize they're factory farmed chickens. Perhaps maybe there's antibiotics in there. I mean, they're not clean. And get the breading on a Chick-fil-A. I'm sorry, it's not non-GMO, or if it is, it's soaked in glyphosate, because if it's not organic, it will be. So you're not doing yourself a favor, even though you like it. I know people have been mad at me for saying that. I just got to point it out.
Right.
But to resort, here, this is what I remember. Do you remember Doritos nacho cheese tortilla chips when we were kids? And they would always say, you can't, I don't know, you can't eat just one. I think that was, you couldn't. I remember, man, I put one of those in my mouth. I'm like, dude, this is and it's like, you were just pounding them. And I'm like, what is it about this that's so good? And, you learn about the excitotoxic aspect of MSG causing kind of an addiction. Now, some people do get headaches and other things like that. So, yeah. Oh,
yeah. I mean, I remember with eating nacho flavored Doritos growing up. If I opened a bag, it was gone. I'd finish it. Yeah. I mean, there was no, you can't save half the bag. You're going to eat the bag.
Yeah.
But you remember in the early 90s, they came out with fat-free fat called Olestra.
Yes.
And so then you could have your Doritos, but they were fat-free Doritos.
But the side effect?
The side effects were terrible. They caused side effects like, rectal bleeding was literally one of the side effects, extreme constipation, diarrhea. I mean, it depends on who it is to how it affects you, but
the one I remember,
terrible side effects.
The one I remember was a disease called AL, not ALS, AL, anal leakage. That was listed.
Oh, no,
you
did.
That? Yeah.
It did cause anal leakage. Yeah. Now here's what's interesting. We used to, when we lived in Dallas 10, 12 years ago, even longer than that, 15 years ago, we were friends with one of the guys that was on the team, the marketing team that took Olestra to market. And he told us what difficult meetings they had trying to spin all of these horrible negative side effects into a promotion for this Olestra to make it sound like it was
really
that
desirable.
Anybody should try it. Yeah, but he said, they eventually did.
Everybody wants to have their anus leak. What? No, I don't. I'm just getting word from Super Don, a crack team of investigative reporters that he has hired himself. And he found out that, again, much to your dismay, those of you who are out there, look, politically, I like Chick-fil-A. The people that own it, they're very concerned. They're closed on Sundays. They have religious beliefs, but it doesn't prevent them from using things that you don't want to put in your body. And I'm not picking on them, because apparently not only Chick-fil-A, but Popeyes does use MSG in their classic chicken sandwiches. Again, this explains why people are so, oh my gosh, I get that. I remember that when I used to eat things containing MSG, it has that response in those that aren't getting headaches from it. Those that are like, oh my God, give me another one. Give me another one. It's so good, because it hyper stimulates your nervous system, your taste buds, to create this addictive quality that you're like, I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah. And just because, Chick-fil-A has quality ownership. I mean, I remember one of the coolest things Mom got to do before she died 15 years ago. She died, but before that, she went to Truman Cathy, I think is his name, the owner of Chick-fil-A, right? Yeah, so she got a chance to go to she went to his mansion outside of Atlanta, and just got a chance to hang out with him and his wife, because her second husband that she married after Dad died was friends with them. So I think that was really cool. Good people. But that doesn't mean that all the products that they produce are healthy. And, you find that there's a lot of good people in church, but a lot of good people in church think vaccines are awesome and that chemotherapy is a great way to treat cancer. So that doesn't really mean that they're going to have a good position on these types of issues. I'm sitting right in front. If I look past you here, out my front window, there's a Burger King, and they've got this new Impossible Whopper. Have you seen that advertised?
Oh yeah, we've talked about that. Yeah.
It's got like 3,000 or 30,000 times the estrogen of the other burgers. I mean, wow. It's like an estrogen burger. It's insane. I think it's mostly GMO soy.
Right. Loaded with glyphosate as well. It's a mess for you vegans that think that's a good thing. Of course, if you're a true vegan, you'll be repulsed by it. But yeah, what do I know? I'm not a true vegan. I'm not even a fake vegan. But the reality is it's a nasty sandwich. All of these quote unquote impossible meat burgers are not meat, and you'd be healthier eating the meat. Yes, I said that, even if it's a factory farmed animal, and I'm not advocating eating it. I am not. By the way, let's see. I'm quoting from this article about the McDonald's attempt to capture the chicken sandwich market. It says a chicken sandwich at McDonald's should be our top priority. The National Owners Association board emailed fellow franchisees in July. JFK called for a man on the moon. Our call should be a category-leading chicken sandwich. So we can't really criticize McDonald's for using MSG now that we found the leading chicken sandwiches are already using MSG.
They are. And I mean, that's not surprising. They're gonna do what gets the more customers. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't understand the danger of MSG. Mm-hmm. And you can go out and look for the dangers of MSG, and there'll be a lot of debunking sites saying that's not really that bad. It's just tiny quantities. Anything that's bad, there's lots of articles out there telling you how good it is.
Sure.
And if you're looking for that information to justify your position, you can find it. Right. But yeah, I mean, MSG is pretty bad for you. It's one of the worst additives, I think.
Well, it's an excitotoxin, and there are problems with that, creating aberrant neurological interface, brain problems, people that have swelling, allergic responses, headaches, things like that. That's not pleasant. And if you want your MSG, you just go get Popeyes and go get Chick-fil-A, and then now maybe go get some McDonald's.
And the other most frequent place that you'll find MSG is in aspartame. I'm sorry, right. It's not MSG. The other most frequent place you'll have an excitotoxin exposure is aspartame. And so MSG and aspartame are the two most frequent exposures to excitotoxins, which literally what an excitotoxin does is it excites your brain cells to death. It kills brain cells.
Was it Russell Blaylock that wrote the book Excitotoxins, The Taste That Kills, or was it Betty Martini?
The Taste That Kills.
Remember that?
That was Dr. Blaylock. Yeah.
So, a good point. Excitotoxins, look, somebody's going to say, oh, it's not a big deal. Well, a little bit becomes a big deal. And it might be a cumulative issue. It might not be one, but everything matters. And either that or nothing matters. And at that point, that's why people raise their hands and go, I'm just going to eat everything because nothing's good for me. I'm like, if that's the way you want to live your life, you're probably not listening to the Robert Scott Bell Show or reading Truth About Cancer advisories.
In the words of Depeche Mode, everything counts.
Nice. Very nice. All right. Well, we've wrapped up another great edition of Outside the Box with Ty Bollinger here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. TMB, I know you're on the road probably doing honeydews. And did you tell your wife that you need to be sent on honeydews every Wednesday during showtime for better internet? Because it's working.
I'm sure she will be glad to acquiesce to the honeydews if I can do that every Wednesday. She loves it when I come to town for her and get her stuff.
Anytime we can knock stuff off that list, our wives become very happy. I'm not good at that as I should be, but I realize that's one of the keys to successful marriages.
Happy wife, happy life.
Right. And one more thing before we got to go. What do you say?
Remember, the power to heal is yours.
All right. Back after this.
The Robert Scott Bell Show. The Robert Scott Bell Show.
Check out a sweet offer that my friends at Better Way Health give. This is an immune boosting supplement that you can't get anywhere else.
Beta-glucan activates and enhances your immune response to invaders.
These things are brilliant for modulating the immune system.
Someone has a need for help in supporting their immune system, I'm looking at the glucan product.
It's amazing, and there's been an enormous amount of research done on this.
It's the most studied immunomodulator on Earth, with over 14,000 published studies referencing beta-glucan, and it's currently being tested in roughly 100 clinical trials.
If you like your dietary supplements with validated science, there's nothing that has more behind it than the beta-1,3-D glucan from Better Way Health.
Probably the most heavily researched substances that I'm aware of that modulates the immune system.
It rebuilds your immune system.
Consistency and quality are everything.
Here, you want to see my supplement drawer? Here it is. Get ready.
I was putting together my research and I tripped on this supplement called beta-glucan.
There it is. It's very small. I take beta-glucans, immune booster.
You don't have to worry that you're overstimulating the immune system. We have been just amazed.
I take like 2 a day from Better Way Health.
It's been tested against about 36 other immune-boosting products and found to be superior.
If you have an immune system or you want one, beta-1 3D glucan, that transfer point is very unique. It's going to get the results that you're looking for. I support it and I use it.
Better Way Health, I got to tell you, you can spend more time, you can spend more money, but you cannot give better service than you're going to get from those guys down there. They are truly 24 karat.
The brand you want to get is called Transfer Point Beta-1 3D Glucan, and you can get it from betterwayhealth.com. Let's spread the message about beta-glucans. It's a powerful substance from nature that can help you.
All right, for all of you that are sticking around, you shall be rewarded. There was one story we couldn't get to in the first hour, relates to burnout, right? The thing we talked about with Dr. Frank King this week, and that reminds me, Super Don, we're going to be doing a giveaway of the adrenal burnout formula from Dr. King, are we not? This month sometime.
We are. So if you're a new listener, you're going to want to go over to our website, robertscottbell.com. And over on the right-hand side, you scroll down just a hair, and there's a spot there where you can sign up for our newsletter. And the reason why you want to do that is because this time, unlike the last couple times, we are going to be doing the contest via the newsletter. So if you aren't subscribed to the newsletter, you're not going to get the instructions on how to enter the contest to win the adrenal burnout formula. So get over there and get signed up. If you're already signed up, then no worries. Just be looking in your inbox. I'm going to give it a few days before I send that email, probably this coming weekend. And we'll do the giveaway next week.
By the way, check out the new banner from CV Sciences. It's kind of cheeky. It's cheeky. Does this, you know what, even work? That's great. I love that they're doing it. Yes, definitely yes. But only if you take the right stuff. That's always the case, isn't it? So cool. CV Sciences, RSB 15. The promo code's still available to you, 15% off every day. We got John Bush coming up later next week. I think. Is it this week or next week? No, Monday. I think, John Bush. So we'll talk more about Kratom updates coming up. That's going to be very, very cool. And let's see what else we got. We did the McDonald's
Tomorrow we
story.
got Jonathan E. Ward, and we got some stuff to talk about there for sure, as usual.
Are you surprised that McDonald's and Popeyes use MSG? I wasn't. I just wanted to confirm it. So thank you for digging on that.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure. You know, I mean, my first impression on it was that basically, if they're going to turn to MSG, before I knew about Popeyes, before I knew about Chick-fil-A using it, I was just thinking, you know, that really says a lot about the fact that McDonald's cannot compete and cannot come up with a chicken sandwich that tastes halfway decent in order to be able to compete. But now that I know, it reminds me of like, and actually it's funny, you know, Ty probably would have agreed with me on this. There was a time when bodybuilding was just overrun with steroid use. And it was like these guys that would get into bodybuilding, professional bodybuilding, they couldn't compete because everybody else was on steroids. So if you weren't on steroids, there was no way. There was no way you were going to be able to compete. And so this kind of reminds me what's going on here is now you've got chicken sandwiches on steroids, right?
If you want
to compete.
If you want mass market conversion to your chicken sandwich over the other chicken sandwiches that these mass market fast foodies are delivering, they're not foodies, but fast fooders are delivering, you've got to go in and do the steroids. You got to go in and do the MSG. That's what McDonald's is saying. We can't compete unless we do that. And that's an acknowledgement for all of y'all that might still be hooked on Chick-fil-A. You didn't realize it. I know, because you like the owners, all right? But it's got to be more than that. Officer Hayes, our resident bodyguard, I shall say our domicile bodyguard. He says, RSB, I was a Chick-fil-A addict before listening to your show. Again, I'm not anti-Chick-fil-A. I'm just like, fast food in general is not something I recommend, but certainly not if it's coming from factory farmed animals. There's MSG, there's glyphosate, on and on and on. Why would I be for that? And then somebody says, give me a Chipotle. Yeah, at least Chipotle, as far as we know, does not use MSG. They claim it that they don't, or GMO ingredients. So anyway, that is something. Let's see what else. Anything coming through Facebook Live on questions or comments before we do the last story of the day? Just looking at some of these things.
Not really that I've seen here, no.
Okay. Shane is wanting to raise money for what? A fundraiser for your grandma's cancer, or is it fundraiser for a cancer charity? I'm not clear on what Shane is asking there. Ovarian cancer. But are you talking about raising funds for your mom to be able to get, your grandma to be able to get treatment, or raising funds for a charity that's holistic? That's Shane, let me know so we can answer that properly. Let's see. What else? Looking at all these things. 4 per day. Deborah, it's talking about selenium. 50 micrograms a tablet. Yeah. That's 200 micrograms a day. I do bare minimum 300 micrograms a day. I tend to do, unless I'm really on my game, I'll do 3 tablets, which is 150 micrograms twice a day. I like to get the 3 tablets in 3 times a day to get 450 micrograms a day in me, and I recommend that. 200 is bare minimum. It's below what I think is necessary for maintenance in regards to what we're dealing with, what we're all dealing with. So let's see here. I have a Doug question. Does mercury have a color to it, or is it transparent? Well, Deborah is asking that. In the vaccine vial, you typically can't see it because it's shaken up, but if you let it drop to the bottom, as you've seen mercury, it's known as quicksilver. It does have a very silvery sheen to it. So it can look dark and blackish, for instance. It tends to have a color, but if it's micronized and in there in micrograms, you might not be able to see it when they shake it up. So hopefully that helps. Well, I didn't get to tell this to Ty. Christine says, TTAV, the docuseries that sealed the deal for us. My son was born right after the debut. He's 100% vax-free. Christine, God bless you. Thank you. That's great to hear. That is great to hear. Anything from Facebook Live? Super D, I ask you one more time.
No.
Okay.
I'm not saying. Let me look one more time here.
All right.
No. I mean, there were comments here.
Okay.
As we were going through the show, and we really do appreciate you guys being interactive like that and talking with other people. And
and thanks again. Did we announce a new patron to the Robert Scott Bell Show, or was that yesterday?
That was yesterday. I got it in. We had, hold on a second. It was, I just happen to have the page open.
We are hoping we get enough patrons
Sandy
this month.
Higginbotham.
Right.
Sandy Higginbotham. Bill Cora.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, Allie C. and then Rose Bowen.
Yeah.
So those are the last 4 that we've had this month.
If all goes well, I'm just going to tell everybody this. I've been talking very out loud about needing to help Super Don upgrade computer so that he can't, he can keep up with what we're doing here, because he has to drop off when I have a guest like Ty. He can't be on Interactive. We love the interaction, but we have realized now his computer can't process it fast enough. That's what we learned by upgrading this one. So we get enough Patreon supporters maybe next month or whenever this comes through that our plan is to get something, and we'll have Super Don on 24/7 with us, so we don't have to drop him off. And I think if you love Super D, you'll be a
24/7.
You'll be the equivalent of being on the whole show. Basically, that's what I meant.
Oh, okay.
Didn't try to mean to scare you.
I don't want a computer. I don't want a computer if you want me on.
I didn't mean it that way. Yeah, I'm such a slave.
Yeah.
So if you've been thinking about supporting the show and you want to support something specific, that would be an awesome time right now to go, hey, yeah, I want to make sure Super D is on all the time.
And check it out. It took me a little while to get geared up on doing this, but I'm starting to post now more of the lost episodes of the Robert Scott Bell Show. And so last night, I hadn't promoted these on social media yet, but last night I posted a interview with Andrew Wakefield from 2002 or 2012, excuse me. That was shortly after the Health Freedom Expo. I was listening to it, and I was just like, I wonder when this is. And then you were talking to Andy about how you were at the Health Freedom Expo, and you had to had to get him on a ship. You guys were like on the Queen Mary or something.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
At Health Freedom Expo.
Right.
Yeah, and that would have been the one in Long Beach, obviously, because that's where the Queen Mary is. And then I've got an interview that I posted with Patty Finn, and this is several years ago as well. And this was shortly, I think this was right around the time that she kind of came on the scene.
I think we were one of the first interviews. We tend to be
one of the first interviews,
grab these folks because we're on every day, or basically 6 days a week. So covering these stories is important to us. If there's breaking news, we try to do that. But these interviews are priceless. And as I said, I held up for you, Super Don. Were you intimidated before the show when I showed you the stack of old shows? And some of these CDs are not like one show on a CD. They're like files that are saved, like it's a drive. So multiple shows.
I remember when those got put together.
Yeah,
because you could only fit so many shows on there.
So there's a lot of history, that is lost.
Listen, the thing is, I know you've got like two giant stacks like this that you were showing me. I'm not ready for them yet, though.
I know.
Because I've got a ton to go through here tonight. I'm going to be posting an interview with Ron Paul from back in February. I want to say it was 2011.
Wow.
When this was when he was going around talking to people in support of Rand Paul's book, The Tea Party Goes to Washington. So I'm going to be posting that tonight. We've also got an interview that you did with Rob Verkirk along with Liam Sheff at a Health Freedom Expo.
Wow.
And great. Then when I get done with those, I mean, dude, I got
there's
Ron
so much.
Paul. I've got an interview with Sean Stone. What else? I'll just open one more and go through here. Let's see here. After I'm done posting those, what do we got coming up after that? How about some interviews? We got an interview with Dick Gregory. Let's see here. This doesn't have any names. Anyway, so but long story short, if you would like to get access to all of these cool interviews that aren't available anywhere else right now, get access to the Vaccines Armed and Dangerous seminar that Robert did with John Rappaport, and a bunch of other perks as well. I'm going to drop the link in the YouTube chat there. You can go in for as little as $4.99 a
you're
month.
His body. Move until you figure out where that is. All right, my son is here. He's trying to
look
match
at that.
up.
We're wearing almost the
same thing.
We're
there it is.
Almost the same color too.
There it is.
Does that work?
That's it. You're right here with me in studio, Super Don, courtesy of my son who stole my tea once again. This is the stuff, man. So where's the thing you were going to show us yesterday and you never got to show us? Do you have it? Is it put together or all in pieces?
It's all in pieces.
Oh, well, anyway. All right. Well, all right, let's see. How does one get Argentin 23 Silver Taffy? That is through Jonathan at choosetobehealthy.com, 866-424-1077, 866-424-1077. Shane says he was wanting to raise money for her grandma's treatment, not her treatment. Yeah, I think any of those fundraiser sites, GoFundMe, they're not banning people that are raising money for cancer treatment. As long as you don't say it's for homeopathic treatment, they're not going to ban you. So any of those sites can do that.
Right.
But so let's see.
Yeah. Just don't mention the details of what kind of treatment.
Right.
Just got a question on
you don't have to be a
Facebook.
doc.
Heidi wants to know when we are going to do more V Science Bites.
Well, we're scheduled tomorrow. Good question.
Tomorrow.
Sherry Tenpenny joining us for the first one of the new year of 2020. And we should have, if we do it right, 2 weeks in a row, I think we're going to do this Thursday and next to catch up because of the schedule that's been over the holidays and everything else that's been going on with New Jersey. So, yeah, we're back with some more V Science Bites tomorrow after we do Sacred Fire of Liberty with Jonathan Emord. So we got a lot to talk about there, too. Let's see. Final story. I just got to get to it. Promised I would. This is one I couldn't get to in hour one. Burnout linked with irregular heartbeat. Burnout. And we talked about adrenal burnout with Dr. Frank King. He talked about the Ragland test, so you could test it out, and the adrenal burnout formula. It used to be called 911 burnout, things like that, but it's the same thing. And y'all can get it by going to drkings.com or calling 800-543-3245. And you know what? You'll get the ebook. You have to call to get the ebook if you haven't done that yet. 800-543-3241. Ask about the ebook for the burnout. And here's my question about this story. If you have heart skipping due to adrenal burnout, my question is, do you got magnesium? Because magnesium deficiency is the clearest, easiest thing when you're dealing with skipping beats, irregular heartbeats. I'm not saying it's the only thing. I mean, I would also do Dr. Christopher's Hawthorne berry syrup, in addition to the adrenal burnout formula from Dr. King. But magnesium, and you get the Mega Food magnesium from Jonathan at ChooseToBeHealthy.com. The Mega Food brand is, yes, it's the same company as Innate Response, but the Innate Response brand uses a synthetic form of magnesium, weirdly enough. So we're not brand loyal. We are loyal to the formulas and the right forms of these supplements. Okay, so the Mega Food magnesium is the one we use. And again, they don't sponsor me. I wish they did. But give some support, some love to Jonathan at ChooseToBeHealthy.com and get your magnesium from him. All right, Super D, anything else before we wrap it up here? It was a good show today, pretty intense. That opening, man, I couldn't let it go, what the World Health Organization was doing for the next 10 years for the new decade. So, wait, you're on mute. Are you on mute, or can I not hear you for some reason?
It's me.
There it is. Okay.
I'm also on delay here, too.
Okay.
No, that was good stuff. It's important. I'm glad that they keep putting out their playbook and their roadmap for us to be able to
it's great,
keep
isn't it?
tabs on them, right? They don't hide it very well, and that's good.
No, they've given up on it. Yeah, they're just coming right out and saying it. But I'm telling you, I mean, I did find 2 places of agreement with the World Health Organization thing, 2 minor places, but the overall charge that they have is a pharmaceutical agenda and nothing less than that, y'all. So, just see through it as we try to do here, try to help you see through the medical matrix. And Super Don is really good at that too. And we love bringing this to you. So anything else we need? There's my son. Hi, son. How are you doing, kiddo? So love you too. Ugh, big squeeze. So
I heard stranglehold on the radio.
Stranglehold? Yeah. Oh, you
All
heard
right,
stranglehold
so,
on the radio. Okay. Yeah. What?
Yeah, it's an uncommon one.
Oh, a little Ted Nugent, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we love it when they play the Nuge here.
So do you have the Nuge, man? He's a great guy. And if you ever want to watch a great interview, the interview that he did with Joe Rogan is a good one.
Very cool.
As are most of the interviews that Joe Rogan does. So, all right. So do you have our new and improved end of show
Did you send me another one?
We can play here for...
I used
I figured you play the same one.
Oh, the Mickey friendly one, she didn't even comment today on it.
Missed it. Yeah.
I'm like, I played it.
No, she did.
She did.
She
liked it. Did she dance to it?
She said, "Let me go all the way back here," and she said,
"Yeah."
No. Let's see. Where is it here? Hello, friends. Thanks for considering music to my ears.
So she did appreciate it. Okay, all right. As long as I wouldn't have to call her up and complain. Mom, we did this for you. Super Don did this for you. All right, I'll go out with that now since we're past the official ending of the show with UK Health Radio. Y'all, again, sign up for email alerts. Become a patron supporter. It's really going to help us do what we're doing even better, reach more folks, and anything else that you can do to support Super Don by being a creative, what would we call it, assistant producer or intern for Super D. Please let him know. And eventually he'll follow up with you. Eventually, right?
I will. I got a couple calls to make on that.
All right. Thanks for being here, y'all. We'll be back tomorrow going to do the Sacred Fire of Liberty and V Science Bites with Dr. Sherry Tenpenny. Please share the show. If you've been watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. We got half of the people that were watching to give us a thumbs up. I'm like, what are the other half? What are they watching? They don't like it or don't know how to do a thumbs up? I don't know. Michael Bolden, thanks for reminding us to say that. Okay. All right. Back tomorrow with more powerful healing because the power to heal is yours.